guess what? It's 8 o'clock. It's the 18th of March 2023, and that could only mean one thing. It's time for What a Week That Was. I know, you thought you'd escaped it, but no, it's back. It's bigger, better and uglier than before. What we got going on this week? Well, we've got Rishi Sunak on a plane talking submarines. We've got more of Gary Lineker crap. We've got a woman getting what she deserves, i.e. 8.5 years in prison. We've got banks going bust left, right and centre. We've got the budget, United Kingdom budget. We've got news on the strikes, and Putin is a wanted man. Who knew? Well, everyone, let's be honest. So yeah, it's very, very exciting, and it is time to begin proper. So, Sunday, well, that was the first day of the week, always is, except when it's not, but it never isn't, because it always is. So we will have a look on Sundays. Hey Angela, well done, you made it. Hope you're good. And the news starts off with something very, 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 very boring, and that is the Gary Lineker story. As well as could be expected, Angela, going seeing her tomorrow, all being well. Match of the day 2. Hey, Deno's back as well. Match of the day 2 was on Sunday night, and it was brilliant. I watched it all the way through. Basically, there was no commentators, there was no pundits, there was no crap. It was just people playing football with the crowd reactions. You could even occasionally hear the shouting of the players to each other to say what's going on. Yeah, Sean, I can do. Hope everything's okay. Honestly, been thinking about you, but don't want to ring. So yeah, Deno, Angela and Sean are all on. So yeah, so more fallout meant that the commentators weren't commentating, the pundits weren't punditing, presenters weren't presenting, and it made, for me, a better show. And yes, people have said that never watch Match of the Day. Well, I don't, because I don't like football. But it made it more interesting, and that's a good thing. We like that. Meanwhile, Rishi is on a plane, and he's talking to the journalists at the back of the plane. He's flying to America to have a chat with Joe Biden and the Premier, or the Prime Minister of Australia, because you always meet the Prime Minister of Australia when you go to America, don't you? And we look there, bottom left of the picture, with the pink arm around his shoulder. That's Chris Mason of the BBC. I don't know whether my least favourite person is on there, which is the Sky Woman, who I don't like, but no, I can't see her, so I don't think she's there. If she is, they've all stood on her, which is a good thing. Yeah. Hey, Smiley Mac's here as well. We are getting a full house today, which is great. Meanwhile, Biden talks about China and risk of them. Basically, something we've known for ages, but Biden's finally clicked on. He's suddenly realised. Plus, breaking news as I was on air last week was the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, which is basically a massive tech bank, which went very quickly, very bust, very awfully. So yeah, a lot of companies in Britain were right. ILM as well. They're that's completely thrown me. I've had a cider or two. I'm on the Guinness because it's whatchamacallit, St. Patrick's weekend. So yeah, Guinness. It's basically what I didn't drink last night. So yeah, Silicon Valley Bank went bust, but a lot of tech companies in Britain were worried, and I'm like, why have you got your money in an American bank? Because it was cheaper, it was easier to get an account there. I mean, you've got, if the bank is cheaper and whatever, then that's on your head. If you go to a cheap place to get something, then don't expect it to have the same stuff or reliability as yeah, very busy phone tonight. Don't expect it to have the same reliability as the normal banks in the United Kingdom. I mean, you're a tech company. Surely you go to like Lloyd's Bank, the big Lloyd's Bank, not Lloyd's TSBX was. I mean, the actual, Lloyd's. Or you go to another bank of that kind. But no, they went to America, and then they went, oh no, it's gone bust. What do we do now? We panic. And I'm like, no, it's your own fault. Because Cayman Islands were full. Yeah, and probably what's that place that begins with a P as well? Anyway, sad news. Bill Tidy has passed away at the age of 89. He was a satirist, cartoonist for, well, decades. 60s, 70s, 80s, and probably into the 90s as well. He used to rip into everyone and everything about anything. Some of the stuff he did I didn't like. I just thought it was a little bit, ooh, that's not good. And Panama, that's the one. And then other stuff he did, I'm like, that is amazing. That is amazing. Because it was amazing. Anyway, that was the end of Sunday. Sunday goes, what happens then? Monday arrives. What happened on Monday? Well, I'm going to tell you, because that's what I'm here for. So Monday, junior doctors go on strike for 72 hours. But what I don't understand is, these people are whinging. Look, they're £14 an hour is not a fair wage for a junior doctor. Full pay, pay restoration for doctors, and I'm of the thinking that when you're on a picket line, you're angry. You wouldn't be there if you weren't angry. You're angry about something. But these guys are always smiling and joking and laughing. I'm like, no, you're meant to be serious. You're just taking the people's lives. And it does my head in. And I got very, very angry about it. I mean, not really. But, yeah, you don't smile on a picket line. The whole point of a picket line is you're angry about something. That is why you've actually come onto the picket line and you've walked out of your job, because you want better conditions, you want more money, you want more staff, you want whatever. It's not a fucking party. IJT and Rach, hope you're good as well. And yeah, it does my nutting. Good news, if you can be arsed about it, was that Gary Lineker had come to an agreement with the BBC, and he was going to come back onto Match of the Day. Whoa. Guess what I'm not watching this weekend? Meanwhile, Rishi had arrived in America, and he met the President of the United States of America, and he also met the Prime Minister of Australia in San Diego. I only know that because it says it on that board. And we're in this weird thing that's called AUKUS, which is awkward. It's really weird. Don't they lose money on a picket? Yeah, they do. When you go on a picket, when you go on a picket line, when you have a holiday or when you're sick, you're entitled to, holiday pay, full pay. Sick pay is, if it's a long while, a percentage of your wage, but you're entitled to something from your employer. If you go on strike, you're not entitled to anything. But some unions do pay people for their wages. You pay a union every month so much, a few quid a month. And some unions will put that money to one side and then use that to pay you if you go on strike. For example, we'll come to them later on, the passport people are going on strike. But yeah, AUKUS is a weird name, a weird acronym. AU for Australia, UK for United Kingdom, and US for US. And then you can go back to the A in US, so it's like a... So they are paid enough to strike. Yes, Deno, that's a very good point, very well made. So yeah, Rishi agreed to supply nuclear subs, build nuclear subs for Australia. And America agreed to give some nuclear subs to Australia as well, which they no longer require, whilst the ones are being built in the UK from Barrow-in-Furness. But what you don't know is, later on this week, which I haven't got down here, but I saw on the news, the Australian, I don't know what he was, but some kind of cabinet minister from Australia visited the shipyard in Barrow-in-Furness and said, this is brilliant, we need to build one of these in Australia. And I'm like, no, you're using us to build these things because we own your ass, Australia. I'm only joking, although we do technically own your ass. China saying that it's not a good thing and they don't agree with Australia being supplied with submarines and be able to buy submarines. And what they've said is they're going to build a big wall. Now I don't know what it is. They've already built our wall, and Donald Trump didn't manage to build his wall. So we'll see how this wall of steel actually comes up. China. Meanwhile, back in the UK, one gentleman sadly passed away after a massive suspected gas explosion in a terrace house. I mean, literally shocking. The devastation. I mean, gas is, we need it at the moment, but it will be a much safer place for everyone when it's been replaced by something else. But we can't do that until we've got reliable energy sources that's affordable as well. Meanwhile, SVB, the Silicon Valley Bank, was, well, the UK part of it, the UK accounts, was bought by HSBC for £1, for £1. They bought the entire, allegedly £1 anyway, the entire accounts and everything, and they've told everyone who's got money in there that their money is safe because HSBC are basically going to supply people with the money they've got in the SVB bank. So if you've got 70,000 in there, 100,000 in there, you've still got that, but it's now HSBC. So they haven't bought it for £1. They bought it for however much money is in the account. So you're probably talking a few million or even billions. Gas air will be replaced by the hot air of politicians. Damn right, Deno. Absolutely. You're not wrong there. It's if we could actually bottle that stuff, yeah, I think all our energy woes would be over and done with very, very quickly indeed. That completes Monday, because then we've got Tuesday. And Tuesday, well, Tuesday's my favourite day because there's two of them. You get 2 days. Tuesdays? No? Okay, I'll get my coat. There were rumours about the upcoming budget, basically saying that there's going to be more free childcare to help more return to work. Don't know quite know how that works, but we'll go with it. We will go with it because, well, we'll see what the budget come up with. Justice was done to Eleanor Williams. She was jailed for 8.5 years for perverting the course of justice by accusing many men in Barrow-in-Furness, where she lived, of rape and assault and grooming and all that kind of stuff. And she'd made the whole thing up. Being falsely accused for something is horrendous, and yeah, she's got the justice that is well deserved. There were then rumours that there'd been an issue between an American drone and a Russian fighter jet, and the American drone had actually crashed into the Black Sea, which is not far from Crimea, which is not far from Ukraine. Technically it is Ukraine, which is not far from Russia. So one was wondering what a drone was doing there in the first place when America's whinging and moaning all the time about China balloons flying around. It's like, you know, when this first come up, and I'll show you when I first saw it, you know, what it looked like. It was like, oh my God, is this the beginning of World War III? Is this drone the equivalent of Franz Ferdinand from the beginning of World War One? Anyway, no, it's not. So yeah, it was allegedly trying to intercept it. It was unprofessional and reckless, said America to Russia, which is ironic considering what Russia's doing for the rest of the time, and also what what China said about America shooting down their hot air balloon, which was probably full of hot air from the politicians of China, to be fair. Meanwhile, horrific scenes with Cyclone Freddy causing, I mean, unbelievable amount of damage. And it's, cyclones are basically like a juggernaut. They just keep going and going and going until they peter out over land. they get their energy from the sea. I don't know how it works. I'm not a meteorologist, but they really do get power in the sea, and then they go on the land, they destroy everything on the coast and everything as they work their way in. They get weaker and weaker and weaker, and then some weeks later, if it's in America with the hurricanes, for example, same kind of thing, we end up with the remnants of it, and it just gets very wet and a bit windy here. But this cyclone, it's like it's got its own mind. I've had a look at the track it's used, and it's kind of gone into land, then it's gone off the land, gone back in the sea, recharged itself, and then got back in land again. It has killed hundreds of people, made loads of people absolutely devastatedly homeless, and it's just destroyed these countries which have very little, if any, money. Nothing we can do about the weather, or is there? I mean, is this global warming? We are getting considerably more stuff going on than what we did weather-wise, even in my daughter's lifetime, and she's only just gone 30. You know, it is a worldwide thing, and maybe we do need to look at, you know, climate change a little bit more seriously than what a lot of politicians currently are doing, because people are dying because of this, and yeah, we need to sort something out. America, sort you got no, we're not up there yet. Meanwhile, Wednesday came along, and the good news was it was budget day, and oh no, hang on, sorry, this was Tuesday as well. Cough medicines were drawn from sale due to the fact that some of them had chemicals in them that could be deemed dangerous for people who take them, but they're not your normal cough medicine. They're specialist cough medicines which are over the which is sold behind the counter of the pharmacists. Okay. I'm getting messages left, right, and centre, but no, it doesn't seem to be doing anything. Anyway, so the big question is, when you're the Chancellor of the Exchequer and a bit of a robot-y, horrible, nasty person, how do you pose to look really cool with the budget box? Well, not like that. I mean, come on. It's Jeremy Hunt is possibly one of my least favourite politicians, and there's a lot. I mean, you know, we're on about Liz Truss, and I was saying today actually to someone that Liz Truss was replaced by a lettuce, or was compared to a lettuce by the Star when she was Prime Minister, to see which would last the longest. And yeah, the Tories are making a right hash of everything, but are Labour any better? And I said, you could actually do the same with Keir Starmer and a lettuce. What you do is you get the lettuce and you just pour water on it, and you've got Keir Starmer. Jeremy Hunt, he's up there. I mean, a lot of people have got his name wrong, and that, yeah, basically sums up what he's like. But he said that he was building for the future. There's going to be no official recession, and free childcare extended here, there and everyone. In trust we trust. Sorry, I'm getting stuff going on left, right and centre here. In trust we trusted. True fact. I know you voted for it, and I had a go at you for voting for him, Mr. LM. At the time, and we didn't know each other that well then, but I still had a go. I mean, like, seriously, voted for her. Yeah, I'd have gone for anyone, but anyway, doesn't matter. We've moved on. We've moved on. So, what gems did Jeremy come up with? Well, he come up with all this, and there's loads of it. There's loads and loads and loads. Energy bills and cost of living. Energy bills. The energy price guarantee will be extended for 3 months at the current level, capping annual bills at 2,500 for the typical household. Now, that's not what you're going to pay. That's the average. You might pay less, you might pay more. It depends how big your house is. That's an average. The Treasury claims people will be £160 better off under the plans, but failed to mention that £400 household support payment has ended. So yeah, you're not going to get your 67 quid through the post anymore. And I'll be honest with you, that 67 quid has pretty much paid for my entire electricity for a whole month. I've had to top it up occasionally with 10 or 20 quid, but overall it's done really well. So yeah, fair play. This is what I do like, prepayment meters. Millions of householders on prepayment meters will no longer pay more, as charges will be aligned with direct debit customers. It means Jeremy Hunt will subsidise energy firms to the tune of 200 million to stop them charging vulnerable customers on prepayment meters high tariffs, but it will also end alongside the energy price guarantee in April 2024. Now, I am on a prepayment meter, and I've never understood why. I was put on a prepayment meter because the shop I had at the time, which was on Market Street, wasn't making any money. I got behind my bills, blah blah blah. They broke in, they put in a prepayment meter, and then I had to pay off, put something on, and it knocks off 4 or 5 quid every time you top up, and that chips away at what you owe. I don't owe anything now, but I'm like, why am I being charged more for a prepayment when I physically have to go somewhere to get it charged up, to get the key or the card with some money on it, and then I have to come back and then I have to manually put it in and press buttons and do this and do that and do the other. So why am I being charged more for this when the electricity costs exactly the same, and the gas costs exactly the same to get to me as it does to my neighbours who may or may not be on prepayment meters? Makes no sense. Exactly like I said, I don't know why the energy companies are being allowed to raise standing charges whenever they raise the price of your fuels. Anyway, there was more. Come here, there's more. Then we had 33 hours of a week for under 5s. Working parents will be able to get 30 hours of free childcare per week for all under 5s for 38 weeks a year. It will begin when a child is 9 months old and run until they start school, but it's being rolled out in stages and won't apply to all children until September 25. And someone's worked out that to get the best benefit from that, or the earliest complete full benefit from it, you have to conceive your child in October this year. Wraparound childcare for schools. Now, I think this is good. All schools will start to offer a wraparound offer, either of their own or in partnership with other schools, by September 2026. This will include things like breakfast club and after school care, which I think is fantastic, because you can drop your kids off at 8 o'clock, 10 past 8, half 8. They get a breakfast at school. You can get to work for 9 o'clock. You finish work at 4 or 5, whatever. Kids are still in the school until 6 o'clock, so you go around and pick them up. They're not being educated. They're having fun from half 3. They'll be playing football or I don't know, other sporty stuff. So it kind of works all around, and it'd be free because it's the schools doing it. Of course, the schools would say, yeah, but we have to pay for this now. We've now, if you're a comprehensive and you've got 1,000 pupils, 500 of them end up being on this scheme, you're going to have to look after 500 kids, extra hours after school for 3 hours or 2.5 hours, and for an hour before school, and that costs money. So as long as the government put money in to pay for that, I think we should be okay. I am Marty, hope you're good. The minimum staff to child ratios will change from 1.4 to 1.5 for 2-year-olds in England, but this will be optional. So you're allowed to have 1.4 children per member of staff. Now, how the hell that works, I have no idea. Assuming you've got 3 kids, you need 2 staff. But yeah, it's just weird. And more cash for providers as well. The government will increase funding paid to nurseries to provide the free hours by 204 million from September, rising to 288 million the year after. But again, things have a tendency of going up, as we know. Then there's more. Fuel duty cut. Drivers will get a boost at the pumps as the fuel duty will remain frozen. Mr Hunt also confirmed that 5p reduction to fuel duty will be maintained for a further year. It's a bit tight because we still pay more tax than most other countries on the fuel, but it's better than nothing. Defence, the Chancellor confirmed government will add 11 billion to the defence budget over the next 5 years, and another 30 million is being allocated for veterans. So they're going to start looking after the people who they should be looking after, the people who've served us in various wars and situations, including the Falklands War, the Troubles in Northern Ireland, and when people just get shipped all over the world just to help out in other war-torn places, including working for the United Nations, things like that, which is good. NHS and care. The medicines watchdog, the MHRA, will next year move to a near atomic approval of medicine, automatic approval of medicine. Atomic? I'm not exactly sure that that's a good idea. I think we should check medicines thoroughly before we dish them out to the entire population. COVID vaccine. Suicide prevention. The Chancellor announced an extra 10 million to the third sector for suicide prevention, which is one of the biggest killers, particularly of men aged between, was it late teens and early 30s, something like that. That's the biggest killer of men in that age group, which is a shocking statistic. So it's good to see that money is being put into that area. Isn't that an EU tax that could be done away with? No, VAT is an English tax. VAT is different around. Everyone's got VAT or equivalent of VAT, but it's different levels all over the world. And I don't think in Europe they have one set rate of VAT. I think it's different per country. I think an argument for that would be, as I've always said with Europe, when we joined Europe, it was like a gated community. There was these Western European countries like Germany, France, Spain, United Kingdom, Ireland, and we were all, Belgium, we were all very similar in the way we have governments, in the way we run things, in the economics of the countries. We're all very, very similar. I mean, at the time it was a lot of producing goods, making things and all that kind of stuff, but they were all very, very similar. So it was like a gated community, all quite rich countries. And then halfway down the line they decided to knock a hole in the gated community and invite in all the people living in the council houses. This isn't how it is, but this is how I explain it to people. So all the people in the council estates, they moved in to our little community, and we kept giving them money. So you got like your Polands and your Lithuanians and all that kind of thing. So they started getting money, and we started subsidising them and helping them, and then we got a little bit back for our farmers and all that kind of stuff. And it didn't work as well. And my argument always was, when we were one of 7, and then even when we were one of 10, we were still one of 10. But when we get to one of 20, one of 30, our vote is diminished dramatically. And that's where my issues were with Europe. But then we decided, oh, look at them over there, living in the tents. Let's invite them as well. So we invited the people living in the tents. And that was basically Greece, which is, one of the poorest countries in the world. And we invited into this community thing. And that's where it's all started going wrong. So I'm pretty sure that how can I word it? That Europe and the VAT and all that kind of stuff it's not going to exist in 10 years' time the way we know it. It's going to separate out. It can't work because you've got completely different styles of government. You've got completely different regimes, and it just doesn't work. And that's why I voted for Brexit. Nothing to do with anything else. But my argument was, if we can control our borders, then that means we can let people in we need. So, doctors, nurses, people to collect and pick fruit, because they've been doing it for years. People going in the fields, getting all our lettuces and all that kind of stuff. We can let them in. They've been doing it for years. And then they go, they earn a bit of money. They do us a favour, because Brits won't do that. We won't lower ourselves to go in a field and pick some celery. So they're doing us a favour, we're doing them a favour. They send money back to their country, which is fair enough. They've come over here to help us, so they send the money back. They go back, and then they come back a few months later, and they do it all again. And it's been working brilliantly for years. And then we just put the things down, and I'm actually, what the hell is going on? The EU actually reminds me of the former Yugoslavia. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't work because you've got, I mean, it's not a religious thing, but the way the governments work is, very Christian oriented. I mean, I'm an atheist, but the country is very Christian orientated. Certainly at national level. Okay, we've got, is he Hindu? Rishi Sunak. I don't think he's Muslim. I think he is Hindu. But I mean, he's the first non-Christian prime minister we've had. So we're very Christian orientated, as are Italy, obviously, France, Germany, and all the other countries I said before. But then you bring in countries that have got Muslims. I'm not having a dig at Muslims at all, but the mindset is different. The way they do things is different. And then you've got like former Soviet states who don't really have a religion, or they have that Christian Catholicism or whatever it is. Orthodox, that's it. No, that's Jews, isn't it? Oh, I don't understand religion because I say I'm atheist. But the mindset is different, and they've all got to agree on things, and it just doesn't work. So it's going to break up at some point, and that's why we're out of it. Okay, we're getting all the crap at the minute with the Irish border and all that kind of thing, but we can sort the problems out. We can go put through with the crap that's going on at the minute to find something that works. And then when we've got something that works for everyone, including the EU, I imagine France, Italy, possibly Germany, I'm not sure, but the right in those countries will rise to the fore, saying like, look, the United Kingdom has left, they're not suffering, look at what we're doing, we're still trading with them, we're still doing this, we're still doing that, doing the other. Why are we in Europe? We don't need to be in Europe anymore. And that's when you'll get the referendums coming. I mean, the Scottish referendum, absolute tosh, complete waste of time. The EU is a cult. Well, yeah, Jeremy Hunt again. Very similar. But anyway, we've gone completely off track here. Investment zones. 12 Canary Wharf style investment zones will be rolled out across the UK. They will potentially be in the West Midlands, Greater Manchester and the North East, South Yorkshire, West Yorkshire, East Midlands, Teesside and Liverpool. There will be at least one in each of Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, which sounds good. Basically, it's to encourage businesses to come to these areas, particularly where there's low employment, and boost the economy. What we need to do is we need to get back into manufacturing again because we're relying too much on China. Capital expensing, firms will be able to deduct every pound invested in IT, equipment, plant or machinery from the profits over the next 3 years. So if your company is doing well, but it would do better if you had new equipment, but you're making money, if you buy new equipment, every pound that you spend on that new equipment, so £250,000 for a new JCB digger or whatever it is, you can immediately say on your profits, you can knock off the tax you're going to pay £250,000 because you've spent £250,000. So basically, you're spending £250,000, but you're also keeping £250,000 tax free. So it's good for big businesses, and I think it will help. But we'll have to wait and see. Tax credits. Mr. Hunt said he will introduce a new tax credit for small and medium-sized firms that spend 40% of their expenditure on research and development. One thing you missed on businesses, and I've gone about this for a while, is business rates. Now, business rates is a killer, literally, nearly in my case. When I was on Market Street and I had my second shop, level 2, which we don't talk about, my entire turnover for the year was less than the business rates I was expected to pay. Got bailiffs coming round, it was an absolute nightmare. I was struggling, like I said before, I got behind with my bills, I had the British Gas breaking in the house while I was at work to fit payment meters, all that kind. It was an absolute nightmare. I've been there, I've done that, and I literally ended up on a bridge at 3 o'clock in the morning over the M6 motorway. Chose the bridge well. It was a bridge that I knew wasn't very popularly visited, so no one had really noticed I was there, because I got that desperate over business rates. Now, I'm not saying I'm not proud of that, but I'm not ashamed of it, because I think explaining stuff like that and saying, look where I am now, is always a good thing. But the business rates make no sense, because per square metre or square foot or whatever, if I have a massive warehouse like Amazon, every square metre, every square foot is less rateable than a shop on Market Street in Wigan, which the rates are based on rents and everything from 1988 or thereabouts, give or take a year, which is when retail was on a boom. Retail was doing really well in the 1980s and 1990s. That's why shopping centres like the galleries went up, because retail was the big thing, and you couldn't get enough shops in there and everything. But the rateable values haven't changed. So what I say is, for small businesses, be it retail, restaurants, pubs, anything like that, if their business area where they actually trade from is less than 10,000 square feet, they don't pay any business rates whatsoever. None. Zip. Zero. If it's more than that, then it goes up, you know, in regular increments to like a supermarket size. But if you've got a big warehouse and you're making millions and millions of pounds of profit, but not paying any tax on it, Amazon, then that gets business rates slapped on it. So all the business rates we're no longer paying as small businesses is more than covered by your Amazons and your other massive companies. And that's the only way to do it, to level the playing field, because Amazon can do stuff cheaper because they don't pay the amount of stuff that retailers pay for the same space. And that's where it's wrong. And he's missed that one. And it's been said before, it's not my idea. I've kind of, you know, push it out whenever I can, but it's not my idea. But it's certainly something that should be done for small businesses. Like I say, I'm not just saying it for me, I'm saying it for pubs and restaurants and, you know, anywhere that is struggling with, you know, like small manufacturers like a Printworks or a forgery, you know, who does, you know, some metalwork or whatever. But anywhere, a small business less than 10,000 foot, no business rates, end of. I've said that, I don't know whether my new shop, not my new shop, my new shop after the new shop, is more than 10,000 square foot, but it would be a reduced rate than what I pay at the moment for 10,000 square foot. And that's the only way to do it. Talking of a wet lettuce, Keir Starmer and his cronies basically said it was a sticking plaster policies, but I don't understand what he would do differently, because he doesn't tell us anything. Literally, he tells us nothing. He's like, well, I'm not going to tell you anything until election. Well, election's only, what, 18 months, 2 years off. We need to start knowing what you're going to do. It's easy to criticise someone when you're not replacing it with something else. I mean, when I criticise the council for what they're doing with the galleries and the redevelopment, I put other ideas in there, like making a massive square, making a museum to Wigan Casino, not building the cinema because who goes to the cinema. I'm offering alternatives which are cheaper in the long run as well. But that's Wigan Watch. You need to watch Wigan Watch for that. But yeah, it was an interesting time, it has to be said. Then we had this rather bizarre point where... Oh, hang on, I got a message. Keir Starmer is like the human form of beige. I think you're being generous there, I'll be honest with you, mate. I'm going to turn that down a little bit. There we go. When was the last time we saw Lisa Nandy in actual Wigan? Last time I saw Lisa Nandy in actual Wigan, she was actually in my old shop. And it was November, December 21, I think. But that's the only time I've seen her in Wigan Town Centre. Never seen her before, and I've been in Wigan Town Centre since 2012, and I've not seen her since. The last time I saw her in person was at the election results for the local elections, where obviously she was patting the Labour candidates on the back when they won. So yeah, Lisa Nandy. She's a character. But yeah, apparently nuclear power is now, what's the word? As environmentally sustainable. It's essential, as I've said many, many times before. Wind power, wave power less so, but it's a lot more complicated to set up. And solar power. I mean, solar power in the UK, absolute waste of time. If you have it on your roof, fair enough, a little bit on your roof. You know, it's enough for your house when it's a sunny day. But I imagine most of the time, particularly in winter, when it's dark considerably longer than it's light, complete waste of time, solar panels. Absolutely pointless. So to do all these massive solar panel farms when that area could be used for producing food, which we are desperately short of, it makes no sense. Wind turbines only turn when it's windy. Nuclear power stations, they're there all the time. They can be turned on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, for decades. They are there. They are solid. They are dependable. And Elon Musk a while ago said that he was developed these nuclear pods, which are basically nuclear power stations that can be built in communities. He was thinking more of Africa and places like that, where they could build this pod thing, and it would supply power to, third world countries for their cities, and even for the villages and the towns and things like that around the edge of the cities, which is a brilliant idea. But we could have them all over the world. People say, yeah, but what about nuclear waste? Well, technology is getting better. The waste that we get from nuclear power now is a lot less per gram of uranium than it was in the 1970s when we first started doing nuclear power. Plus you got nuclear fusion, which seems to be developing quite nicely as well, which is an even cleaner way of doing nuclear energy. So the nuclear waste is going to diminish over time. The efficiency of nuclear power stations is going to be greater as well, because nuclear power stations, again, the technology's got so much better that we can get more power from the uranium from the same amount of uranium than we would have got 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. So it is more sustainable. I'm not saying we're having nuclear powered cars. That would be absolutely ridiculous. Almost as ridiculous as putting batteries in every single car on the bleeding planet, which is the craziest thing I've ever heard. But nuclear power is definitely a way forward, and the waste situation will diminish over time. And who knows? I mean, it might be send it into space if you're that worried about it. Send it to the moon, or just send it into deep space, and let's cause World War IX with aliens from a planet that we blew up because our rocket full of used plutonium hit it and destroyed the place. But anyway, yeah, nuclear is sustainable, and I kind of agree with that in a weird way. Don't agree with everything that Jeremy Hunt does, but what can you do? Meanwhile, following the collapse of SVB and another bank in America, Credit Suisse, bizarrely, ended up having financial difficulties. Share price went down 30-odd%. People were panicking. There was been a rush on the money from there. But apparently the crisis is over. It's one of them crises. What crisis? Well, yeah, who knows? Anyway, that was a very busy Wednesday. We then moved to Thursday, which is not as busy. He says, come on, work, damn you. Come on, technology. There we go. So, yeah, Thursday. A new pay deal has been sent to NHS workers apart from the junior doctors, who want 35% in a near enough recession. Be realistic. And they've been advised to take it. They've got from £1,600 to £3,700 one-off payments plus 5% for this coming year starting next month. And they've been voted to, or they've been told, or recommended by their union bosses to vote for it. No more Homes of Zurich, no. But again, look how happy they are. They're on a fucking picket line. You're not meant to be happy. It is not a party. You're there because you're angry. And, you won't see the coal miners going, hey, let's have a sing-song. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Society is absolutely screwed at the moment. And it's not getting any better, is it? Let's be honest. Meanwhile, America released footage of the Russian jet, which was deliberately spraying fuel onto the drone that was flying over the Black Sea. Those plumes there are jettisoned fuel, which is a bit dangerous because that's where the engine is, I would have thought, and therefore that's where it's very hot. But what one analyst said, I don't watch Sky News, I think it's weird, but what one analyst said when I was on it for about 30 seconds was he doesn't think Putin or anyone from the government has ordered this. He thinks that it was just what they do because we buzz their planes when they fly over the United Kingdom or through the Channel or in the North Sea or whatever, and they buzz us when we fly around them, and they shadow our submarines, we shadow their submarines, And this is a similar kind of thing, but what he said was, it's more likely an inept pilot who's done this. However, the inept pilot has been awarded a medal from that there Putin for what, maybe crashing a drone but not destroying the very expensive fighter plane. Either way, it's very, very peculiar. But yeah, the Pentagon released that. Meanwhile, in the United Kingdom, we joined, I thought we already had to be fair, the ban on TikTok on government property, particularly mobile phones and tablets which are used for government business. You're no longer allowed to have TikTok. And as I've said many, many times before, when you have an app, any app, and you just click yes, 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 when it asks you accept all, whatever, you're actually accepting that app to look at your phones, look at your text messages, look at your browsing history, look at your Facebook page, look at everything on your phone to then work out the advertisements that are best suited for you. And it's something that people just click, oh yeah, I'll go for everything. No. If I have no option of reject all or essential cookies only, I completely ignore that app or completely ignore that website that I've gone on. So yeah, TikTok, yeah, or Tok. Oh, that come out wrong. Who misses? But yeah, it's really not a good thing. So, Greater Manchester. That is Greater Manchester in the northwest of the United Kingdom. We're actually bigger than Liverpool. Who knew? But not quite as big as Lancashire or Cheshire or Derbyshire. Certainly not as big as Yorkshire. Anyway, we've now been given budget powers with the money that the government give us. So I say us, Andy Burnham as the mayor. So basically, instead of saying, right, here's so many million for schools, here's so many million for public transport, here's so many million for whatever, it's like, right, here's a few billion, spend it how you want. I'm not necessarily sure that's going to work, but we'll give it a go. We've got no choice. That's what we've been told to do. So yeah, that was Thursday, and it was spiffing. Said no one ever. Friday. Now Friday is everyone's favourite day of the week because it's the day before Saturday. And Saturday is obviously what a week that was day. But I don't think that Vladimir Putin enjoyed this Friday because the ICC, International Criminal Court, have put out a warrant for the arrest of Vladimir Putin. That's ever going to happen. For displacing hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian children into Russia, and that is classed as a war crime. I'm like, whoa, hang on a minute. Invading Ukraine is a war crime. Executing civilians is a war crime. Bombing civilians is a war crime. Everything he's done is a war crime, and they do the thing of, oh well, he's took a few thousand kids to Russia, and they're putting that down as a war crime. That man is guilty of more war crimes than anyone else in 70 years. And he deserves everything he's not going to get. And that's the problem. Who is going to go arrest him? But yeah. Andy Burnham will be making more crazy golf places like Saddle Junction. Now, I want to interview Andy Burnham for a Wigan Watch, I'll be honest with you, but I don't think it'll ever happen. But he's on my list, but I don't have a number to speak to him, but I definitely want to speak to him. Meanwhile, Moscow said that it doesn't recognise the ICC, so therefore it doesn't matter. Brilliant. You'll be surprised to hear that the Met Police is a disgraceful institution. Who knew? It's racist, misogynist, that one, homophobic, and just crap. They don't check their officers. How many of their officers have been done for very serious crimes, including murder, rape, assault, and how many more are coming out of there? I'm not saying all the police forces in the country are great, but the Met is an absolute disgrace. It is basically, it's like the Sweeney from the 1970s, the way it seems to run and the stuff that they do. And yeah, probably should be disbanded and reset with someone else, but I don't know how you could do that. Passport officers are to strike for 5 solid weeks. 5 weeks on the trot. We were talking about this before, their union has said that they've got enough money in the bank to pay the wages for their staff to be off for that length of time, which is why they've chose 5 weeks. Also means if your passport is running out and you want to go on holiday this year, you probably won't be able to get your passport in time. So it's going to, a lot of people will be doing staycations again. I kind of need a passport because I need photo ID so I can vote at the local elections. Having said that, if there's a problem with this, they might scrap that idea this year and do it next year or the year after for local elections because people can't get the passports. But yeah, absolute. I nearly said a C word wobble, but yeah, I wouldn't say that because I'm a nice person. Unlike today, Saturday. Everyone's favourite Scottish woman, said no one, Nicola Sturgeon, who has resigned and is walking away from being First Minister of Scotland and also the leader of the SNP, hence the election with these 3 muppets who want to take over the job. Her husband has been forced to resign with immediate effect as I'm not sure exactly what his job is, but he's very high up in the SNP, but in the office rather than out front like she was, because he said that the membership of the SNP was 100-odd thousand, and it turns out the membership of the SNP is 70-odd thousand. Jimmy Cranky, yeah, and whoever the guy was with her. So he's had to resign because he lied about this. Chief Executive, that's his job. And he's married to Nicola Sturgeon. I mean, life can't get any worse for that poor man. He's lost his job and he's still married to her. Although I'm sure she's lovely. Meanwhile, Putin has gone on a trip out of Russia. Although technically you say he's still in Russia because he's at Crimea. But no, that's out of Russia. It was illegally annexed. It's still part of, as far as the rest of the world is concerned, Ukraine. But the leaders of Ukraine, when he annexed Crimea, basically were too soft to stand up against Putin, unlike Vladimir Zelensky. But he was in Crimea to celebrate 9 years of annexation. And yeah, it's one of the few places you can actually travel out of the country without being arrested. Meanwhile, in America, President Biden says that he's happy that Putin has a warrant set upon him, but the United States of America, along with Russia and a couple of other countries, don't recognise the ICC either. So it's, well, to you then, this warrant is completely irrelevant because you don't recognise the court that has set this warrant up. I don't know why America's not in it. Probably because they know better, and they know they'd probably get done for stuff themselves, like allowing so many people to walk around with guns, killing teenagers. But anyway, we're coming up to that in a bit. And breaking news: Imran Khan has been in court today, and basically there was they're calling it a riot on the news, but watching it, it was more of a civil disturbance. There was a few stones thrown, a few people there. Basically, some of his supporters. And they were angry that Imran had been taken to court, and what he's being accused of this time, because they're desperately trying to put him into prison, what he's been accused of this time is selling items that was given to him when he was president, but not declaring it on a tax form or declaring it at all. And I genuinely have no idea what that's about. Although President Trump, ex-President Trump, although it's still called President Trump, he's also got something similar going on. But I would have thought if I was a head of state and someone gave me a gold watch, then they give me the gold watch. They didn't give the country the gold watch. They give it to me because they like me as a head of state of that country. So surely I'd be able to do what I want with that watch. Anyway, apparently not. So yeah, that was the UK based news, which means it's time for La 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 America. What's going on in America? How much gun crime in America? Well, loads more than what we need, and it's tragic and really awful that it's happening. But yeah. So American news. Oh, the SNP seems a very family-knit firm. Yes, very similar to the Labour Council in Wigan, I'll be honest with you. So, have we had anything else off? No, we haven't. LM has not sent anything else. I think he might have gone. I don't know. Anyway, American news. Something in this amused me no end. Drum roll, please. How long before we get the first gun crime thing? Oh, number one. Colorado lawmakers consider raising the age to buy firearms to 21. Note the word buy firearms to 21. Colorado legislators are weighing a new bill to raise the age limit for purchasing firearms to 21 in a state that's been home for some of the most notorious mass shootings in United States history. Colorado's State Senate is currently reviewing a package of gun safety bills, including one measure that would limit all firearm purchases and possession, including shotguns and rifles, to people 21 and older. So, put a pig in a red rosette and Wigan will vote Labour. Yeah, I think it's beginning to change now, though, hopefully. Hopefully it is, anyway. Vote independent. Oh, a second one. Gun crime. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. 3 people wounded, 2 critical in an afternoon shooting in New York City. 2 people were critically hurt during an afternoon gunplay in Brooklyn, police said. In all, 3 people were shot around 1:45 p.m. Cops said an unidentified woman and a man were fighting for their lives after being critically wounded. Police and sources said a second man, also shot, is expected to survive. I think we're past saying America sort your gun laws out. I think it's just America. America. Now I know LM is a massive fan of America. If he's still on, he's probably gone now because we've been on for nearly an hour. Over 460 Ukrainian kids have died from Russian attacks. Now I'm surprised it's that low. I would have thought it'd be considerably more than that, I'll be honest. At least 464 Ukrainian children have been killed by Russian attacks across the country, which is a war crime, don't forget, since the invasion a year ago, according to data from the country's national police force. See, I would accept collateral damage if they were aiming for I don't know, a group of tanks or a military compound surrounded by residential area, and one of the missiles, because we're at that stage now where we can actually fire missiles through windows of buildings. We are at that stage. So, or maybe not Russia, but yeah, collateral damage. Some of the shrapnel goes out of the compound and kills people on the outside. Okay, that is collateral damage. But not what Russia's been doing. They've been systematically, deliberately targeting residential buildings and hospitals and schools, and of course we mustn't forget that theatre where hundreds of people, including many children, were all sheltering and all got completely wiped out in 1 or 2 rocket blasts. Yeah, it's absolute tragic stuff that's going on in Ukraine. We moan about the stuff that we've got going on, but my God, it's got nothing compares to what's going on in many other countries. And obviously Ukraine's at the forefront at the minute, but there are other countries going through similar kind of things as well, with war and desperation and all that kind of thing. Etsy sellers hit by Silicon Valley bank collapse. Payments have been delayed. Now Etsy, I've never bought anything off Etsy, but apparently it's one of these websites where you can buy stuff that you can't buy anywhere else. A bit like Not on the High Street, but posher, more global. Is Not on the High Street still a thing? Or is that gone now? I don't know. But the Silicon Valley bank collapse is hitting mums and other small businesses owners who sell on Etsy. The Brooklyn-based commerce site notified shop owners that the deposits they were expecting on Friday will be delayed because of the recent developments regarding Silicon Valley Bank, who Etsy uses to facilitate disbursement to some sellers. The news led to some shop owners to freak out. I can say, I've already mentioned Putin's warrants, and no, it won't go ahead, obviously. I thought I'd turn that down, I'll be honest. Anyway, never mind. Silly, when I was in America last year, I was in a fast food place and a guy put his gun on the counter when he went to pay. Mental. Yeah, that's what I mean. Guns are just everywhere. Bit like this. A giant blob of seaweed, twice the width of the US, is taking aim at Florida. Now, how the hell something twice the width of the US, that is just basically seaweed, it's not an entity that's thinking, is taking aim at Florida, is beyond me, because if it's twice the width of America, then surely to God it's going to be bigger than Florida. Anyway, a giant seaweed bloom that is so large it can be seen from space is heading towards the coast of Florida with potentially disastrous consequences. Unless, of course, you're vegan and seaweed is one of your main 5 a day. Texas legislators look to give voters final decision on daylight saving time. Now, this is an argument I've had over here for a considerable length of time. Texas state lawmakers introduced bills last week proposing to eliminate daylight saving time and put the final decision in the hands of voters. I don't understand why we have this time thing. We should stay on British summertime. No. Yeah, no. Yeah. Because it will be lighter for longer. So instead of going dark at 4 o'clock, it'd go dark at 5 o'clock. But then people say, yeah, but it'd be dark at 8 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, but kids don't go to school till later. And the reason it was done was because of World War II. And the farmers and all that needed to go to the fields. And they come up with this brilliant idea of, let's move time. What we need to do is make British summertime the new GMT. And then the rest of the world can catch up, because we are in charge of time and we can do what we want with it. You know it's true. Everything I do. China can use TikTok as propaganda tool. Absolutely should be banned, said Senator Warner. He said on Sunday that the US and China are engaged in enormous competition and that technology competition is rising. Yes. But what has America and Europe and everyone else in the world done? We've just let China make all the technology. I mean, your mobile phone, where is it built? If you look at the chips in it, where is it built? Your PC, your tellies, where are your tellies from? Where are all the chips built that are in your tellies, your screens, everything? It's all China. China. What we need to do is we need to not rely on China and make sure our economies and all that are more based on what we do ourselves. Oh, you're alright, don't worry. We all have to reboot every now and then. Remember, a few times, not so much this year, but certainly last year, I had to reboot the whole thing because it kept crashing. Migrant boats crash off San Diego. 8 confirmed drowning so far. 2 boats carrying migrants crashed off the coast of San Diego, California, where so far 8 people are confirmed to have been drowned to death. Rescue and recovery is underway. It's not just the UK, it's not just Italy that's got this migrant problem with boats. We need to sort it out worldwide. The best thing for us to do in Britain is exactly what Rishi and whatever she's called said, which is basically send them back from where they came from. But we can't do that unless we've got options in other countries where people who have genuinely got a reason to be here can actually seek asylum there, get a pass, and then get flown over here safely without risking their lives. The problem you've got is most people on the boats don't seem genuine. They're all like young men, 20-year-olds, 15 to 30-year-olds mainly. So they more than likely have no reason to be here, so we need to send them back. We don't need to put them in hotels and stuff like that. No, we just send them back. But we need to do it to save lives. We need to stop people drowning, risking their lives in the channel. So we can set up hubs around, you know, the outskirts of Europe or whatever, saying, right, if you want to come to Britain, come here, we will process you in a safe country, and if you're successful, we will then, at our expense, fly you over to the United Kingdom, where you can legitimately and legally start a new life. None of this boat stuff. The way the government talked about it was absolute nonsense, and they got the wording wrong. If they'd have said it like that, they'd have had more support for what they're doing. As far as I'm concerned, all these people are humans, and every human deserves to live. Not every human deserves to live in the United Kingdom, but many do, and we need to make sure that the people who genuinely want to live here and are able to live here legally get here safely and don't risk their lives and pay millions as a whole to these crooks and criminals who basically don't give a shit about people's lives. They just stick them on this boat, send them off, and pocket the $10,000, whatever they've got. It's ridiculous. It really is. Anyway, I'll get accused now of being racist. 1 dead, 3 injured in Brooklyn shootings. New York PD still searching for suspect. 3 of 4 shooting victims were found at a Brooklyn apartment building, New York, police say. The suspect is still on the loose and no description has been given. That's because everyone's got a king gun in America. Did they not give you a gun, Ellen, when you went to America? Because you're in America. Here, have a gun. Here, have a gun. There you go, mate. Off you go. Georgia house fire kills 3 after multiple propane tanks explode and collapse the home. I mean, again, horrific. Firefighters in Barrow County, Georgia said 3 people were killed inside a home early on Saturday after multiple propane tanks exploded and ignited inside the building and ignited a fire. Propane tanks inside a house? Horrible, horrible thing. The UK will become Atlantis under the weight of all the people coming. I think a lot of people play on the numbers of people coming here. I don't think there's as many people coming here as what people think there are. I think the media kind of doesn't really help the situation. But like I said before, there are some people who are genuinely entitled to be here because they are fleeing, you know, wars and stuff like that. I mean, Ukrainian is obviously an example, but you've got Sudan. You've got Sudan and other places where stuff's going on. Yeah, I get you, Ellen, but I probably can't say that. Indiana medical students subject to DEI instruction on gender as part of basic human structure course. Indiana University students of medicine are receiving instruction on gender being a social construct and that sex and gender are not the same thing. Florida teacher's aide attacked for allegedly taking students' Nintendo Switch is granted a protection order. Now remember, this story's been running for a while now. The Florida high school teacher's aide, who was allegedly attacked by a 19-year-old, was granted permanent injunction for protection on Thursday. So basically, I don't know why she's dressed in orange. Oh, is that the 19-year-old who did it? Yeah, it probably is. But basically, if he's released, he can't go anywhere near her, ever. Ohio man rescued after 3 bodies found bound, gagged and shot in the head at 2 different scenes. Bodies of 3 men were found shot in Summit County, Ohio after being bound and gagged, and a suspect was arrested and charged, police say. America, gun laws. What are you doing? I don't think the forefathers of America who signed the Constitution genuinely thought that in a couple of 100 years' time, you lot would be saying, we've got to keep our guns because they said we have, even though countless teenagers and under-teens are dying every day in America. I don't think they would have wanted that. America, just sort yourselves out. California crematory with suspended license had stashed human remains in a warehouse for years. Authorities found the remains of 160 people in a warehouse that was being used by an unlicensed crematory. Again, can you imagine being the family of that? You know, your loved one has passed away for whatever reason, probably gunshots. You've took them to the crematorium. You've got the ashes in an urn. You do all the, either keep the ashes on the mantelpiece, or you spread them in the garden, or you go on, go to the Atlantic Ocean and spread them in the Atlantic Ocean, or whatever. And then 10, 15 years later, you find out that, no, they weren't the ashes of your loved one, because we found the entire body of your loved one at the bottom of a pile of bodies in a warehouse. It's horrific. The right to bear arms and wearing a t-shirt. Yes. Ohio zebra badly mauls a man's arm and deputies put it down. The guy in question said, "I think he tore my arm off." Pickaway County, Ohio, a deputy shot and killed a zebra after it mauled a 72-year-old man's arm on Sunday, nearly ripping it off his body. You're like, a zebra? Now, number of things here. One is, are zebras that dangerous? I mean, if it said he'd been kicked to death by a zebra, I'd get that. But it mauled him and nearly ripped his arm off. What? And then the other thing is, why is there a zebra in Ohio? And what was a 72-year-old man doing near enough, close enough to a zebra, or zebra, as they say in America, that he was mauled by the thing? The whole thing is weird. Not in a good way. I mean, hopefully he'll make a recovery, but the situation is just weird. A Philadelphia teen shot 10 times in broad daylight by as many as 3 shooters. Unsurprisingly, he dies. A Philadelphia teenager was shot and killed when he was struck 10 times by gunfire after being chased by a group. Teenagers dying, America. Is that really what they wanted? Don't think so. New York PD unit checking cops' beard length and garbage cans and time sheets. I mean, they've got better things to worry about, haven't they, than checking the length of a beard of a police officer. But the NYPD has decided to crack down on its already thinning, overworked ranks by rooting out cops who grow their beards too long, drink coffee on the job, and don't empty their garbage cans quickly enough. No, what you need to do is train them to do the job properly, and train them not to shoot people just because they are not white. And then we might be getting somewhere. A ghost submarine with $87.7 million worth of cocaine and 2 bodies aboard seized off coast of Colombia. Well, technically, if there's 2 bodies on board, it's not a ghost submarine because there are 2 bodies on board. But I'm being pedantic here. The fact is, $87.7 million of cocaine. And where the hell did they get a submarine from? Anyway, it was like a scene straight out of Narcos. The Colombian Navy stumbled upon a chilling sight after seizing a ghost submarine and finding 2 dead bodies, along with more than the $87.7 million worth of cocaine. Officials estimated that there was more than 2.6 tons of cocaine on the 49-foot-long vessel found floating in the Pacific Ocean on Sunday. 2 survivors were also found and arrested. So it wasn't a ghost. Ghost ship is where there's no one on board at all. That's what a ghost ship is. New York City ranked US most congested city as motorists travel just 12 miles an hour during rush hour. I must be honest, I would have thought 12 miles an hour in New York would be going fast. I think that's actually quite impressive. I wouldn't mind doing 12 miles an hour driving through Manchester. And God knows what it's like driving through London, despite the congestion charges and everything. But no, a New York minute is not as fast as you think. The Big Apple is currently ranked the worst city for congestion across the US, with drivers travelling an average of just 12 miles an hour during peak times. I think that's really good. Yeah, hardly the Mary Celeste, exactly. That was what I was thinking of, Deno, thank you. Yeah, that submarine is not the Mary Celeste. It's not a ghost ship. And it's not even a ship, it's a fucking submarine, for God's sake. If anything, it's a ghost submarine, but it's not, because there's 2 people on it and 2 dead people on it. That's 4 people. That's not a ghost ship. A ghost ship is no one at all. No sign of anyone. No sign of anyone, any trouble, no nothing. It's just there. Empty. apart from the $87.7 million of cocaine. David Blaine, remember him? No, me neither. And I remember people threw stuff at him when he was in a box hanging over the Thames, which I found highly amusing. I mean, the guy's a fully fledged head wobbler, isn't he? But David Blaine dislocates shoulder, but continues his Las Vegas performance, quoting, "Wow, that hurt." David Blaine proved his superhuman abilities to power through injury after dislocating his shoulder during his Las Vegas show on Saturday night. According to the Las Vegas Review, the magician had a faulty landing during his In Spades show at the resort's World Theatre. The stunt involves an 80-foot drop into a stack of cardboard boxes in the audience. Blaine landed incorrectly and ended up with a dislocated shoulder, but still continued with the show. Well done, you absolute KJ. But you know, show must go on. I mean, look at Madonna when she got pulled over. I never said pulled off then, that would be wrong. Was pulled over, was it the Brits a few years ago? And she fell quite a way, good few foot. I mean, she's in her late 50s at the time. She's in her 60s now. And she just got up and carried on. I'm like, fair play to you, Madge. Man shot about, is this a record for how many times you get shot? We had that teenager who sadly got shot 10 times, but now, man shot about 70 times while standing on front porch of Philadelphia home. I'm pretty sure he wasn't standing after about 2 or 3 shots, but anyway, a Philadelphia man who was killed in a shooting on Saturday night was struck by about 70 bullets outside his home, according to a local report. Shots rang out just before midnight in the city's Tioga neighborhood. Philadelphia police officers said. Officers responded to a report of a person with a gun found the 25-year-old victim with multiple gunshot wounds to his body. America, gun laws, please stop killing people for no reason. It just baffles me. It just baffles me why they do it. Putin is modernising a crumbling 60-year-old Soviet tanks for Ukraine war. We're thinking, yeah, that's probably a good idea. Maybe you should have done that before you went to war. But anyway, Russian President Vladimir Putin has resorted to retrofitting hundreds of decades-old Soviet tanks to be battle-ready. He's not buying new tanks because he hasn't got the money for it. He's retrofitting 60-year-old tanks. And we've been scared of Russia for what reason? Why are shootings never around one, always multiple? Yeah, exactly. It's just horrific, and I don't understand why Americans put up with it. I mean, I know the NRA is quite a big organisation, has got many members, particularly in the southern states. But surely to God, there's more sane Americans than there are the NRA who could make their politicians actually do what they need to do. But to be fair, we're coming on to Biden in a bit. Teens steal more than $40,000 in calculators in New York City high school heists. You're like, what the hell? I mean, $40,000 worth of calculators? I mean, that's more than 40,000 calculators. You can go to a pound shop and pick a calculator up for £1, a scientific calculator. When I was at school, they were 200 odd quid each. And if you got given one for class and we didn't all get one, you had to hand it back to the teacher before you left the class, and it had to be signed back in. They were all numbered. And you were allocated, say, number 7, and you had to make sure that number 7, because it had your name next to it, was given back, because otherwise you'd have to pay 260 odd quid in the 1970s for that scientific calculator. But $40,000 in calculator, and why would you steal calculators? You'd steal the iPads, you'd steal the computers. What is going on? Even American criminals are insane. By the way, I'm not recommending you break into schools and steal anything. That is very, very wrong indeed. But steal calculators. What the hell? Woman claiming to be Madeleine McCann, submits a DNA test. You're like, she's still going on with this. A Polish woman, Madeleine McCann wasn't Polish, chuck it out, who believes she could be Madeleine McCann, has submitted samples for forensic testing to determine if she is the missing Brit. Yeah, she has been claiming on Instagram and TikTok that she may be the child who disappeared from a family holiday in Portugal in 2007 due to similarities in their age and appearance. Since then, she's amassed tens of thousands of new followers. Sure, she's earning. That's probably the real reason for doing it. I think there's more chance of me being Madeleine McCann than this woman being Madeleine McCann. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, and the world's taking her seriously. I've only taken her seriously so I can ridicule her. But she's got a brain. If she's getting more followers, she's earning mega euros in Poland's and Europe, innit? So yeah, it'll be euros she's earning. Playboy to relaunch magazine as it takes on OnlyFans. I'm like, relaunch? I thought Playboy was still a thing. I mean, I've never bought a magazine of that style, and I genuinely, no one believes me, but I genuinely do not view online content like that either. It just doesn't do it for me. What is the fun of looking at someone or a couple having some interesting times when you're on your own? Makes no sense. But anyway, Playboy's relaunching its iconic magazine in a digital-first publication as the racy lifestyle brand takes on OnlyFans. Now, I'm sure Playboy was always tasteful, as in the fact it was never gratuitous. There was never any sex or self-gratification going on. It was like women kind of sprawled out in a very arty way, very paintings from 200-300 years ago kind of style. Obviously it got modernised, as we can see there from that picture, but there was very little, it was more imagination than anything else. Whereas I think OnlyFans is basically, oh, I've got this, I know what I'm going to do with it, pay me $10 and I'll show you. Yeah, it's completely different. So if Playboy does come back, I can't understand how it's going to take on, because if you've got people watching OnlyFans, are they really going to go back to Playboy and go, oh yeah, there's a woman on a bed with purple silk all over the place, and she's doing that with her mouth looking up at the camera, rather than someone grunting away with some object. Anyway, good luck to them, I say. Daniel, welcome. What a time to join us, when I'm talking about people grunting away with various objects. Welcome to what a week that was. Also, that wasn't a sentence I was expecting to say. None of this is rehearsed. I just basically scan through news items, write down stuff off the news for the UK stuff, which is the photographs, and then all this stuff I take off Snapchat, and if it looks interesting, I'll use it, and if it doesn't look interesting, I'll go on to the next one. So yeah, the words that are coming out of my mouth are not rehearsed in any way, shape or form. China's new defence minister was previously sanctioned by the US for buying military equipment from Russia. China and Russia are getting very pally, and it is worrying. I'm not saying that China's army and all that is much better technology wise than the Russian army, because they're both kind of communist countries. I turn up fortnightly after a few beers. All right, well you're in the zone then anyway, so that's fine. But yeah, it just seems that these countries were frightened of for no reason. The only problem we will have with China is there's that many of them. They could just literally just walk across as en masse, and yeah, that would be scary. Russia loses 1,090 soldiers in reported deadliest day of war. Ukrainian troops killed more than 1,000 Russian soldiers in what could be the deadliest day of the fighting since the invasion of the country more than a year ago, Kyiv's military said on Sunday. In a video shared by General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukrainian spokesperson He claimed that Ukrainian forces killed 1,090 Russian troops on Saturday. Shutpin has also condemned the elimination of 8 Russian tanks. Commended the elimination of 8 Russian tanks and 7 armoured fighting vehicles and 4 artillery systems. Again, though, I always take numbers like this with a pinch of salt. I've said this numerous times, but propaganda works both ways. And Ukraine, how do they know they've killed 1,090? Why don't they just say we think we've killed over 1,000 troops? So the number is a bit weird. But even when we were in World War II, propaganda came to the United Kingdom. Maybe not to the level it was in Germany and other countries, and certainly not to the level it is in Russia at the moment. But take whatever Ukraine army says with a pinch of salt. Take whatever Russian army says and Putin says with a truckload of salt. There is a difference, but still you can't believe everything you hear no matter where it's from. So yeah, that's just to put a bit of levelness on the situation. But if it's true, then I feel sorry for the families of the Russian troops, but at the same time I'm chuffed for the Ukrainians because they are defending basically their lives, and they have to do something. Regulators closed Signature Bank, a second shuttered by feds after SBV disaster. I said there was a second bank that had gone bust in America. Signature Bank. No, me neither. US regulators shut down a second bank on Sunday in a bid to stem the banking crisis after Silicon Valley Bank went down last week. Signature Bank, a New York-based cryptocurrency-friendly financial institution, easy for them to say, was closed on Sunday by State Chartering Authority, according to a joint statement from the Treasury, Federal Reserve and the FDIC. All depositors will be made whole and taxpayers won't be paying the bill. So I don't know where the money's coming from, but yeah, basically shut the bank down, and but the money's safe if you've got your bank in that. If you've got money in that bank. Florida 8-year-old accused of cutting throat of another child. An 8-year-old boy allegedly attacked another child over the weekend, strangling and cutting him with a kitchen knife. The child was arrested. And you're like, who was looking after these children? How did they let the situation? It doesn't say any more than that. It doesn't say whether it was at home or in some kind of institution or whatever. But yeah, Signature Bank owned by Autograph. Very good. George Santos calls for annual testing to assess president's intellect, memory, reasoning and mood. Yeah. George Santos probably needs the same thing on him as well, because that guy talks more twaddle than Senator Cruz, and that's saying something. I'm not saying that Biden shouldn't get that, by the way. Seattle School District teaches young kids how people get pregnant, but trades male for person with sperm. Now, this opens a whole can of worms. So, if I had a lady friend and she decided to get a turkey baster and fill it with some substance from myself and then walked around with it, wouldn't she be a person with sperm? Hashtag just saying. What absolute I just don't understand it. I mean, I've always said that you've got rights to be who you want to be, and in fact today I've been around Wigan with a trans woman, and we've been doing another Wigan Watch shooting and all that kind of thing, and absolutely fine, no bother. You can be gay, straight, asexual, you can be transgender, you can be whatever you want, but don't teach kids all this, not when they're tiny. Sex education for elementary age students, so that's like primary school age students, in Seattle public schools seeks to reduce heteronormality, or the idea that heterosexuality is normal. They want to reduce that. Now fine, if you're gay or bi or whatever, you probably know about it from, you know, maybe when you become sexually aware. So probably from, you know, 10 onwards these days, I would have thought. But you don't brainwash kids into saying that being heterosexual is not normal. It's 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 mad, absolute mad. This is completely unrelated, but I salute you for your budget cooking videos. I enjoy doing them, but I'm running out of recipes. Although I've got a couple of recipes lined up. Crumpets are going to make a comeback, I'll be honest with you, but not in a crumpet way. Although they are in a crumpet way as well. Yeah, completely unrelated. They're talking about heterosexuality not being normal, and now we're talking about crumpets. There you go. Biden to sign executive order to require background checks on more gun sales. So Biden's got a brain. Who knew? Who knew? And Biden's thinking, you know what? Too many people are dying here. Maybe we need to do something about this. Who knew? Yeah, I don't think most trans people do push it on to others. I think it's a minority of trans people. And most trans people just want to get on with it and live their life. But you get these, or people who are not even trans, who just feel that it's their, you know, they have to stand up for people. I just don't get it. Let people live their lives quietly and how they want. And if they want to be, you know, extravagant or whatever, then that's fine. If they want to be just live quite normal lives, absolutely fine as well. But yeah. Anyway, digress. I'm a crumpet man myself. Got some posh crumpet coming up. Sorry I was making you coffee. You're fine. You're fine. This goes on for ages. I don't expect people to sit here for the whole 2 hours or however long it is. Anyway, President Biden is expected to announce an executive order on Tuesday that would increase the number of background checks conducted before firearm sales. The White House said nothing, noting that the move will bring the United States as close to, well, it'll bring them a bit more sensible, shall we say, but only a little bit. Live and let live, Billy. Yeah, you're absolutely right. 100%. Absolutely 100%. And people who pick on people for, I mean, that poor Brioni case, when them teenagers, allegedly, they've not been convicted yet, stabbed Brioni to death. I mean, oh, it's horrendous. It really is. It really is. Florida man accused of secretly recording men with spy cam in the restroom at, wait for this, We Spy Coffee and More Cafe. I'm not joking, look. We Spy Coffee and More Cafe. And he was secretly recording men in the toilet. I mean, the clue is in the name, isn't it? It's called We Spy Coffee and More. What do you expect if you go into a place like that? There are going to be spy cameras everywhere. It's insane. But I mean, the thought of watching men have a wee or worse. Oh yeah, get me on that site right now. Dallas apartment shooting leaves 4 dead. Police arrest 2 suspects. More deaths in America from gun crime. And I've said this before, people would throw at me, not that people do, but if people did throw at me, well, America's bigger than England, there's more people there, it covers a much bigger area, therefore there's going to be more crime of all kinds. Yeah, I agree 100%. So if we make the whole of Europe, excluding Ukraine, well, Ukraine isn't Europe, but the whole of Europe, and let's throw in Scandinavia as well, and maybe the top half of Africa, not South Africa, top half of Africa, we get less gun crime in all that in a year than what America seems to do in a week. There's no logic to it whatsoever. 2 people have been charged with the murder on the deaths of 4 people found fatally shot inside a Dallas, Texas apartment. It's not always Texas, but it feels like I'm always saying Texas. Southern states. Absolutely awful. Awful. A teenage boy shot outside New York City High School, triggering a lockdown. A teenage boy was shot outside a Manhattan high school on Tuesday morning, triggering a lockdown, police said. The shooting happened around 10 a.m. at the Martin Luther King High School in the Upper West Side, cops said. The team was rushed to a local hospital in a stable condition. The 15-year-old was rushed to a local hospital. Well, it said that twice. But yeah, America is allowing their teenagers to be shot. There's no other way around it. America is allowing teenagers to have guns, either legally or illegally, because they're everywhere, and shooting each other. We've got a knife problem. We've got teenagers carrying knives in the UK. But you very rarely get, apart from terrorists, but you very rarely get mass knifings. You normally get a one-on-one where someone has fallen out with someone else, a knife is produced, and someone gets hurt or worse. There's no mass anything about knives. I'm not saying that knives are better than guns. What I'm saying is we've got a knife problem and we're trying to sort it out. America's got a much bigger problem, which is a gun problem, and they're doing very little of anything. I don't think this Biden thing will actually get through. I hope it does. Don't think it will. All this gun stuff in the US reminds me of the episode of The Simpsons taking the pee out of the gun laws. I don't really watch The Simpsons, but yeah, I can imagine what they would come up with. And problem unique to the US. It's more unique to the US than it is to other countries. I mean, obviously we've got a war going on in Ukraine, so there's a lot of gun crime going on there, a lot of war crimes going on there, on both sides, I would imagine, I'll be honest. And you've also got places like South Africa, and then you've got Colombia and Brazil and South America as well. There's quite a lot of problems going on there. So I don't think it's uniquely American, but you think the Americans would open their eyes to what's going on and think, why are so many teenagers dying before they've had a life? And the reason is because everyone's got fucking guns. And it's just not right. It's just really not right. Anyway, back to Ukraine now. Wagner Group is recruiting in Russian schools after heavy losses in Bakhmut. Members of the Russian notorious Wagner mercenary group are giving career talks in schools as a part of recruitment drive to sign up fresh fighters after devastating losses in Ukraine, according to the UK defence officials. So again, a bit of propaganda maybe, but I can imagine because they basically called up hundreds of thousands of age men to go and fight with no training and shovels. So now they'll be getting desperate and getting into the kids. I can't imagine it's going to be like 14-year-olds. It's going to be your 18, 19 and 20-year-olds in higher education, and maybe your 15, 16-year-olds as well if he gets desperate. But it's just, why? I don't know. I don't understand Putin. I really don't. But I mean, who does? You think, right, I'm losing this. Maybe it's time to have a rethink. Maybe do something different. Oh yeah, let's get kids involved. Jesus. Ex-Navy pilot who's seen UFOs. Yeah, right. Calls for investigations of aerial phenomena. We need to be curious. Ryan Greaves is a former Navy pilot who was called on Congress to investigate unidentified aerial phenomena, which is UAP, also known as UFOs, in the skies above the United States. He spoke out on his first-hand experiences with unidentified aerial phenomena in an interview with Fox News Digital. Graves spent about 11 years in the Navy flying F-18s, an advanced fighter plane, and also is a complete loony. I mean, if there are aliens and our planet is so tasty, they could easily come and wipe us out. If they've got the technology to get here, they've got the technology to wipe us out. I mean, that's it. This is their planet, if that's what they want. It's a fighter pilot who's maybe he's got the bends or something. Maybe it's affected his brain. Absolute nonsense. President Biden accidentally reveals Jimmy Carter's asked him to do his eulogy. I mean, of all the people in the world to ask to do a eulogy, someone who can't string a sentence together. I mean, I like Jimmy Carter, I'll be honest. I saw a UFO and was amazed. It turned out to be the Starlink being put up into orbit. Yeah, or a shooting star, or a spy balloon from China, or a drone from America. I mean, oh yeah. Scientists revive zombie viruses from permafrost that can infect cells. Way to go, scientists! Well done. New research from a group of international climate scientists shows that so-called zombie viruses, once revived, can infect amoeba cells. The study, published in the Open Journal of Viruses, looked at more than a dozen new viruses isolated from 7 permafrost samples from ancient Siberia. The research built up upon previous studies from past decade that shows a virus in some cases can live in a zombie state for tens of thousands of years. Fucking geniuses. We don't need to worry about Putin. We had a close call with bloody COVID, and now we've got these muppets reviving these zombie viruses that we've got no immunity to because they've been frozen for tens of thousands of years. Absolute geniuses. Well done, scientists. If anything's going to destroy the planet, I'm more scared of scientists than of anything else. China. No, Siberia. Oh yeah, the COVID was from China. I mean, jury's still out whether or not it was a science lab where it came out, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. This was what I saw. Breaking news. A Russian Su-27 fighter jet struck the propeller of a US military Reaper surveillance drone, causing it to crash into the Black Sea in an incident condemned as reckless by the US military. When I first saw that, I thought, oh my God, World War III. This is our Franz Ferdinand. There will be a band, assuming we survive World War III, in 70 years' time, called Reaper Surveillance Drone, in tribute to Franz Ferdinand. But yeah, oh God, it's aerial conflict is going to bring down the planet. It was a science lab, yeah. That's what people are saying, but I mean, I'm not convinced that it come from a science lab. We've had other viruses coming from other places where there are no science labs, so I'm not convinced it is from a science lab. Although I don't believe anything China says. As I said before, you know, propaganda works always. So if you look at Ukraine, then if you look at Ukraine military and what they say, you take it with a pinch of salt. If you listen to the Russian military, you take it with a truckload of salt. If you listen to anything from China to do with wars, human rights, COVID, you take it with a salt mine. Literally, it's just BS. But I don't honestly think even China are daft enough to accidentally let something out. I think it possibly did come from a mutation of something that was in an animal that's mutated into humans, and that's where it's come from, because it's happened before. I mean, you know, look at the Black Death and look at stuff that happened long before there were science labs. You know, we've had stuff like this before, so I don't honestly think it was a science lab that did it. I'm not ruling it out completely. It is a possibility. Like I say, it's China, so we don't listen to everything that they say. But I think on this one, I think they are right. But I completely disagree with and don't listen to anything they say about the impact of COVID in China and the number of deaths and all that kind of thing. I think that's just lies. Man's body found in a shopping cart outside a grocery store. A man's decomposing body, covered in wounds, has been discovered wrapped in a plastic sheet and dumped inside a shopping cart near a California supermarket. The grim discovery was made at 4 p.m. on Sunday outside the Food Max grocery store on Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King again. We had a Martin Luther King school earlier on, but that teenager got shot. Now we've got Martin Luther King Place in Chico, a city located 80 miles north of Sacramento. A passerby called 911 to report that a person seen inside the car appeared to be dead. If you're decomposing, I imagine you have been dead for a while. I hope they washed the shopping trolley out. I mean, going back to COVID, how many times did we? How much spray did we use on the handles initially of COVID when COVID happened on the shopping trolleys when we went in? We saw them spray it and wipe it, and then we'd spray it and wipe it as well. But a decomposing body in a shopping horrendous, absolutely horrendous. Yeah, I imagine shopping trolleys in that supermarket are not used as regular as they were. Oh. Prince Harry will attend coronation alone as Meghan won't be brave enough, says an expert. They don't know, he hasn't said, but who cares? Shut up, Harry. Hashtag shut up, Harry. We don't care anymore. We don't care. Even Americans don't care anymore. Pentagon officials suggest alien mothership in our solar system could send mini probes to Earth. This is the Pentagon coming out with this crap now. Pentagon officials said in a draft document last week that aliens could be visiting our solar system and releasing smaller probes like missions conducted by NASA when studying other planets. A draft research report authored by Sean Kirkpatrick, the director of the Pentagon's All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO. It's just absolute nonsense. And the Pentagon are now piping up with this crap. I mean, for God's sake. New York Police Department on the hunt for a suspect who shot an innocent bystander on an MTA bus in Brooklyn. There's a video where Diana tells her to shut it. Oh, that'd be amazing. A 25-year-old innocent bystander was shot in the buttocks while riding. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but you're going to get shot anywhere. I'd sooner get shot in the buttocks than anywhere else. Although, no, maybe not, because well, I wouldn't want to get shot at all, but where would I choose to be shot? Because you have to sit on your buttocks, don't you? You need to walk with your legs, you need to move your arms. Shoulders no good. Obviously the head's out. The waist area is definitely out. Front waist area in particular. So yeah, maybe buttocks. Yeah, okay. I'm not saying shoot me in the buttocks, by the way, I'm just saying. On Tuesday night, according to police, the shooting broke out after a man got into an argument with another male on the B44 bus near Rogers Avenue and Empire Boulevard at around 10:20 p.m. The suspect opened fire, but the bullet missed its intended target and struck our male in the buttocks. Someone's been watching too much Independence Day. The cheek of it. The shootings everywhere in America. I know no one from, well, actually a lot of people from America watch this now. Well, not watch this, but certainly listen to the podcast, because this goes up as a podcast afterwards. Just the audio, obviously. And a lot of people in America do listen to it. Whether they get to the American bit or not, I don't know. What I may do is I may cut the American bit out and just waz that up as a podcast and drop all the early stuff, so it makes the podcast slightly shorter. But anyway, Georgia girl, 11, killed by stray bullet while sleeping in her bedroom. I mean, America, seriously. 11-year-old girl killed in her own bedroom asleep. I mean, we had the poor case of the young girl who got shot in a hallway of a house in Liverpool recently, which was horrendous and made headline news, and still is making headline news because the trial is on at the moment for weeks. This happens all the time in America. I mean, it barely gets a mention, I would imagine, on CNN and stuff like that. 11-year-old Georgia girl was killed in her sleep on Tuesday when she was struck by a stray bullet that flew through her bedroom window. The shot was fired just outside the young girl's Spalding Heights apartment in a suspect gang-related feud around 1 a.m, according to the county sheriff's office. One of the rounds that was fired at the intended target, missed, travelled through the victim's bedroom window and struck her, killing her instantly. Horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. And it's all the time. It just makes, you know, I'm not an emotional kind of person, but yeah, I've got grandkids who are 3 and 5, and I'm just so pleased they don't live in America. Freediver breaks world record after plunging down 170 feet into a frozen lake. Now, if I was doing this freediving malarkey, which is basically you hold your breath and then you go down a cable as far as you can with no oxygen, no nothing, and then you turn around and then you have to get back up again, holding your breath. And he got 170 feet down. I wouldn't do it in a frozen lake. I'd do it in a nice lake in the Bahamas or somewhere like that. What the F is a stray bullet? A stray bullet is a bullet that has been fired at a target. Lewis Hamilton. So the bullet is fired at a target, but the target either dodges it or whatever, and the bullet carries on past the target, and then it's now classed as, it's not aimed at anywhere. It's now just on its own. And that is classed as a stray bullet, and the stray bullets very often hit innocent passerbys. How many people have we had shot on New York streets by stray bullets? I mean, it's been shot from a gun, deliberately, obviously, at a target, which in this case is Lewis Hamilton's car. I'm not suggesting we shoot Lewis Hamilton, but it's missed their target, and then after that point, it is classed as a stray bullet. And that's what killed this poor girl in her sleep. You need a cardigan on. Oh, for going down there, yeah. I mean, look at him. He's in his little budgie smugglers. Quite impressive. But yeah, it was a career high for a record low. Freediver David Vency set a Guinness World Record on Tuesday after taking 170 foot or 52.1 metre icy plunge below Switzerland's Lake Sills without a wetsuit. The 40-year-old Czechoslovakian diver took just one breath before diving through a hole drilled in the ice to retrieve a sticker placed 170.9 feet below the surface to prove his feat. Vency emerged in the same hole after 1 minute and 54 seconds. That's why they go down the wire. I could break a world record at a different type of diving. We'll leave that there, I think. I think we'll definitely leave that there. Oh, I'm scared. Elderly man intentionally ploughs a van into the front doors of a Philly Police Department headquarters. And you're thinking, elderly man intentionally ploughs van into front doors of a police headquarters. It's got to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. No, it's not. It's a 71-year-old man, so he's younger than Arnold Schwarzenegger, was arrested after he intentionally ploughed a minivan into the front doors of the Philadelphia Police Department headquarters on Wednesday morning. Wilfred Sanantaggio allegedly slammed into the police building, but he did not breach the doorway, and it was about 4:45 a.m. Police confirmed that the crash was intentional, no one was injured. What was the most ridiculous story of the week? Apologies for late joining. Who placed the sticker? They'd have it on a weight. Stick it on a weight, and then they'd drop it down on the rope. There won't be someone going down there. Having said that, if you've got scuba diving gear on 170 feet, isn't that far, is it really? What was the most... I don't think it was a really ridiculous story this week. I mean, we did the budget and all that kind of thing. That went on for a bit. But yeah, I don't think it was anything ridiculous. We've got the most ridiculous story coming up, and it's from Australia. But it's related to America. What's the running joke we've got with Americans? And what they have to be told. Spoilers, but Australia's coming up soon. Republicans knock Ron DeSantis after Florida governor says helping Ukraine is not a vital US interest. I think helping Ukraine is a world interest, I'll be honest, because if you let Putin get away with it, then he'll go to Poland, and if he gets away with that, he'll then go, and eventually he'll be unstoppable because he'll be taking all the technology from the countries that he's going to. So yeah, DeSantis is talking rubbish. Philly man was missing a gun. Two Tesla drivers take off in each other's car in concerning mix-up. Dude, where's my Tesla? Two Californian Tesla drivers found themselves in a startling mix-up after their apps allowed them mistakenly to enter and drive off in each other's lookalike cars, according to a report. One guy said his app to get into what he thought was his white 2021 Model 3 Tesla in a parking spot in Vancouver last Tuesday. But his Tesla said, I think you're in the wrong car. That's genius. I mean, the fact it said that means that they must know that there's a possibility that that could happen. How would they program that in to the app to say, I think you're in the wrong car? That's a negative and a positive story. Very good. I like a battery joke. Manhunt underway for persons of interest in Florida surf shop shooting. Police in Florida are looking for 3 people after a fight resulting in a shooting at a surf shop in Clearwater. No one was injured, but again, people have an argument. What did they do? I mean, I don't say, have a punch up with people if you're arguing with them. Try and sort it out reasonably. I've never had a fight in my life with anyone about anything, not even at school. But in America, they just get a gun out and start shooting. Dangerous for human beings. Ohio zebra laws called into question after a man nearly killed. Remember, we spoke about this earlier on. Wildlife conservationists shared that zebras are by no means domesticated animals when asked about the Ohio zebra attack. Zebras are not regulated as exotic animals. But they shouldn't be regulated as horses either. But I wouldn't want to get close to a zebra, but I wouldn't necessarily want to get close to a horse in a field either. I don't think necessarily it was the zebra's fault. It didn't ask to be wherever it was. And if you go up to a wild animal, even if it's in a area, I mean, you wouldn't get out of your car in Knowsley Safari Park or any safari park when there's wild animals, right? Even if you're in the monkey enclosure, they'd rip your face off. I've got no apathy. Let's see what you did there. Apathy. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. Where are we up to? I've lost where I am. Well, we're not. Are we as far down as that? No, we're not. Where the hell are we? Wow, are we only there? Wow, we've got a way to go yet. Sorry. Oklahoma woman has his hair nearly ripped off by neighbour's pet monkey and will need plastic surgery. Why are people allowed to have monkeys as pets? And Oklahoma said her neighbour's monkey pulled her hair out and nearly ripped off her ear before one of her family members shot and killed the primate and then stood it up in the backyard for a photo. Again, it's not the monkey's fault. It's the people who treat these animals as pets. They are not pets. They are wild animals. I mean, even dogs, which for centuries, we've had dogs as pets. And we've had a spate around the world of dogs attacking and killing people. They are essentially wolves, wild animals. And you can't take that out of an animal, but an animal that we've not domesticated at all as a species, as a pet, is ridiculous. You wouldn't have a shark as a pet and then get in a bath with it, would you? A paralysed California man shot dead in a care facility in targeted shooting. A partially paralysed man was fatally shot in his room at a California care facility over the weekend, authorities said. They are saying that it was a deliberate hit on him. Democrats, Senator Chris Murphy. What's your name? Murphy. Dead or alive, you're coming with me. Say Republicans don't seem to give a crap about children exposed to gun violence. To be fair, he's talking sense. In fact, Murphy in RoboCop, the reason he became RoboCop was gun violence. That was in the 80s. Senator Chris Murphy said that Republicans don't seem to give a crap about Americans' children when it comes to the issue of gun control. You must watch this broadcast. So I'm going to say hi, Chris Murphy. Hope you're doing well. And yeah, keep pushing what you're pushing, because we need people like, well, America needs people like you to be sensible. Talking of people who are not sensible, Andrew Tate loses latest bid to be freed from Romanian jail over rape and human trafficking case. Accused human trafficking rapist Andrew Tate lost yet another bid for freedom on Tuesday after a Romanian judge refused to let him out on bail. The Bucharest tribunal ruled after a morning hearing that Tate's request to have police custody replaced with restricted release on bail was inadmissible in principle. Yep, I think that's fair enough. I firmly believe in innocent until proven guilty, but that guy needs to be brought down a few pegs. Second teen boy shot near New York City school in span of 3 hours. 2 people, including a 16-year-old boy, were struck by bullets in East Harlem Tuesday afternoon in what police said was a burst of gang-related gun violence tied to the earlier shooting of a student in West Side. The teen and 4 other students at Harlem Renaissance High School were going out for lunch at around 1 p.m. when 3 men came up to them and a fight broke out between the 2 groups and gunshots were fired. That guy is, yes, and there are people who like him though, and listen to what he says, and that is so dangerous. It's unbelievable. I mean, I do say that wokeness has gone mad, but he's too far the other way by a million miles. It's ridiculous. Face blindness is linked to COVID-19. My dad's voice came out of a stranger. After a bout of COVID-19, Annie couldn't recognise her father's face, even though she's a part-time portrait artist. My dad's voice came out of a stranger's face. The case study, identified only by her first name for privacy reasons, told researchers it's now believed that Anne's experience with face blindness is a result of long COVID-19, which has been linked to other neurological effects, including brain fog and memory forgetfulnesses and stuff. Oh, the weather, yeah. I mean, they have amazing weather in America. That just kills people as much as gun violence, to be fair. Yeah. Inside Gen Z's hippie crack epidemic, bigger health race than cocaine. It's no laughing matter. A neurologist has declared nitrous oxide is more dangerous than cocaine, amid a dramatic uptick in the young people experimenting with the drug. Now, nitrous oxide is a problem in the UK as well. You see those little silver canisters, usually in a big pile, usually somewhere quiet, so behind buildings, or and if you're going on a walk along a country footpath or something like that, you'll see these silver canisters that are empty with no lids on or anything, and that's nitrous oxide. And people take it, and yeah, obviously it's dangerous. Oh, there's a bloody picture of them there. Duh. Yeah, people take them, and yeah, and then they wonder why people die from it. It's like, yeah, wonder why you're ingesting into your lungs a noxious substance, which is why I don't understand why people vape. I really don't. It's MQ9 Reaper. Oh, that's the name of the band in 70 years' time. What to know about the $30 million drone that collided with a Russian jet? We're not going to get an whole lot because there's not a lot of space on here. A Russian fighter jet struck the propeller of a pricey US Reaper surveillance drone earlier this week, forcing it to crash into the Black Sea. In an incident condemned as reckless by the US military, the collision and subsequent downing of the $30 million MQ9 drone in an international waters on Tuesday have raised tensions between Moscow and Washington even further, with both countries blaming each other. Of course they are. They're blaming each other. They need to recycle those little balls. Yeah. Just fill them up again and then give them to the kids. No, you're right though. They do. I don't know. I don't even know what they're made. I don't know whether they're metal or glass. I imagine the metal because glass would explode with pressure gas in them. But yeah, I just don't understand why. I don't understand why people use stimulants. And there's me drinking Guinness, which is alcohol, which is a stimulant, and is equally dangerous for your liver and all that kind of thing as well. Optical illusion sparks Oklahoma Twitter feud. Looks like a bearded dude. And you're like, what? They are sure taking the okay out of Oklahoma. The Oklahoma Department of Wildlife started getting mocked so often because its official shield looks like a bearded guy in an orange cap that officials had to release a statement urging folks to quit ripping their little dude. We are aware the logo looks like a bearded dude in an orange hat. You do not need to keep pointing it out. And that's you can see a bit of it there. I mean, I'll be honest, I looked at it and it doesn't look any more like a bearded dude in an orange hat than a ginger bloke walking down the street. Derailed Arizona train believed to hold hazardous materials was actually carrying corn soup. A freight train that derailed on western Arizona on Wednesday night, so another train derailment. America, sort your rail lines out. Was not carrying hazardous materials as originally thought. It was actually carrying corn syrup, which, to be fair, is a hazardous material if you ingest it, which is why a lot of American food is not allowed over here, because it's got corn syrup in it, and corn syrup is very bad for the human body. So it was technically a dangerous substance. Shocking video shows Russian kids going through military training in Crimea. A shocking new video out of Crimea shows, again, out of Crimea, pinch of salt, shows Russian efforts to recruit and indoctrinate kids by forcing them through military training exercises, including martial arts lessons and rifle handling classes. Shared by Russian state media, the disturbing recording shows a young boy and a girl in somewhere, the peninsula's second largest city, racing to assemble a Kalashnikov-style rifle at their desks, according to a report. Again, though, it's a pinch of salt. Having said that, if you type in on Google, because I read this and I thought that's similar to Hitler Youth, but I don't remember Hitler Youth having guns and things like that. So I googled Hitler Youth and went through it all, and they did a lot of military training, they did a lot of exercises. There was a lot of male semi-nudity as well, which is a bit weird. But it was Hitler, and let's be honest, everyone thinks Hitler was a bit of a a bit of a Putin, shall we say. But yeah, there wasn't as many guns. You didn't see kids with guns. But to be fair, this might not be true. It might be made up. It might be a Ukrainian school video as propaganda against what Russia's doing. You've got to take everything with a pinch of salt. I mean, it probably is true, but I don't want to say it is true 100%, because you can't verify unless you're actually there. You can't verify it, can you? So Scientists create mice with cells from two males for the first time. Women, we don't need you anymore. Women have been saying for ages that they don't need men. Well, scientists have decided now that men don't need women. I'm joking, obviously. For the first time, scientists have created baby mice from two males. This raises the distant possibility of using the same technique for people, although experts caution that very few mouse embryos develop into live mouse pups, and no one knows whether it would work for humans. Well, obviously. It's a very clever strategy, said Diane, a stem cell and reproduction expert at the University of California, San Francisco, who was not involved with the research. It's scary, isn't it? I mean, you're almost getting to the stage where if you don't need humans to engage in activity that makes children, you're then going to get to the stage where, obviously long after I'm gone, and long after most of you are gone as well, I would have thought, not all of you, and your kids and your grandkids, but they can actually make people in laboratories, and they can make them all the same. So in a few thousand years' time, all the humans will look like the same. I mean, this would be what Hitler was, top mention Hitler, what Hitler was after with his blue eyes, blonde hair thing. It's very weird, isn't it, what he was into? Hmm. He wants everyone to be Aryan. Yeah, why? Because they're pretty. Because they've got blue eyes and blonde hair. Oh, and kids, take your shirts off as well while you're doing your exercises. Yeah, it's very weird. Anyway, it's the least of his crimes. Obviously, I'm not in any way condoning anything else he did, but yeah. Anyway, moving on. Georgia woman rips redneck dad in brutally honest obituary. Georgia woman tossed aside the odd aphorism for not speaking ill of the dead by roasting her late dad in a brutally honest, hilarious and heartfelt obituary about the hard-as-nail redneck son of a bitch. Helena Milner held nothing back about her father in the no-holds-barred obituary at the Alton Telegraph, where she shared the news that he died of sepsis on his 62nd birthday on March the 2nd. This hard-nails redneck son of a bitch finally found something meaner and more stubborn than himself. And I think that's genius. I think when I go, I wouldn't mind. I mean, I don't want to be called a redneck because obviously I'm not a redneck. Big nose idiot would do me. But yeah, brilliant. Hopefully he would get the joke as well. I imagine he would do. He probably even said, "Do it, do it, do it." Right, what's this? Chilling video shows moment New York City gunman fatally shoots a teen. Chilling video captures the moment a gunman opened fire in broad daylight, fatally shooting a 17-year-old boy who was officially identified by police on Wednesday. The clip shows the assailant stepping out of a deli in Saratoga Avenue in Brownsville on Wednesday, pulling his weapon from his waistband and firing a shot that cops say hit the victim, Greg Bassett, in the chest, killing him instantly. The attacker is then seen walking off. It just beggars belief, doesn't it? That it just, yeah. Anyway, oh, where's that gone? There it is. I missed that one out. What's this one? Bulletproof classrooms introduced at Alabama High School. I tell you what, we've got all these shootings in schools where loads of students are being killed by generally other students or madmen. So what we'll do is we will make bulletproof classrooms. I mean, talk about looking at this the wrong angle. I mean, seriously, they think that is a good idea, making the classrooms bulletproof? An Alabama school has introduced a bulletproof classroom to better protect students and teachers in the case of an active shooter emergency. No, what you do is you sort your gun laws out so there isn't an active shooter emergency in any of your schools or anywhere like that. That's what you do. You stop people who shouldn't have guns having guns, and it's cheaper. And you don't treat your children like they're the problem. They're not the problem. Your gun laws are the problem. I mean, I know I'm not American, but I just don't get how their minds work. Russian ships spotted in Black Sea amid US drone recovery efforts. Now, America cannot call Russia for trying to get this drone out of the ocean where it fell into, bearing in mind what they did a few weeks ago with a balloon that was from China. What did they do? They instantly went and tried to find the thing and then see whether they could analyse it and see what was going on inside it. So what do you expect the Russians to do? It's in the Black Sea. They basically own the Black Sea. They're going to go out there and find it. Of course they are. Yeah, you can't say anything, America. You cannot say anything. They're doing exactly the same as what you did a few weeks ago to equipment from China. China. Dramatic video shows entire plane with a newborn on board being saved by a parachute. Dramatic video captures a small plane carrying 6 people, including a 3-year-old and newborn, floating safely to the ground in Brazil after the pilot deployed an onboard parachute during an emergency. The single-engine Cirrus SR-22 suffered an engine failure shortly after it took off about 11:30 a.m. And it had a parachute on it. I mean, it's so obvious. Why don't planes have parachutes? I mean, you think about it. Planes could have parachutes. Okay, little planes maybe, and maybe more than one parachute, but that just makes perfect sense. I mean, do all planes have parachutes? I mean, my other one is airliners. Why don't they have a bit where, there's an emergency, you can drop out the bit where all the passengers are sat once it gets to a safe level, and then parachutes go around that bit, and the plane just flies off and crashes wherever. But you're going to save more lives that way. But I'm not a scientist or an engineer, so it's probably not feasible. This is American version of the release of the footage. US military officials have released a dramatic declassified video of the moment a Russian fighter jet collided with a US drone over the Black Sea earlier this week. The footage shared on Thursday morning by the US European Command was captured by the underside camera of the MQ-9 Reaper drone as the Su-27 fighter jet twice attempted to spray it with jet fuel. On the second attempt, the jet collides with the drone's rear propeller and the screen pixelates as the communication goes down. Because obviously the driving of the propeller works all the electrics within the thing. China. What's next? Banksy mural on abandoned UK farmhouse destroyed in building demolition. You couldn't write this, could you? Banksy's latest artwork was destroyed when the barren UK farmhouse it was affixed to was demolished this week, to the dismay of the contractors who were unaware the British artist was behind the piece. According to the reports, the mural, dubbed Morning is Broken, appeared on the side of the building and depicted a young boy opening the corrugated metal curtains alongside a cat. But the piece was short-lived as it was torn down by a digger, and it wasn't torn down in one piece. It was basically on a board over a window, and it's a kid, like when you open the curtains in the morning, a bit like on Life of Brian, you kind of go like that. Well, that's what the kid's doing. It's a silhouette of the kid with the curtains open, and then there's a cat next to him as well. Well, the whole thing's smashed to pieces. They've just torn the wood and everything apart. So something that was possibly worth millions is now worth probably hundreds of thousands, assuming they haven't burnt it, because a bit like that painting, what he shredded. That's worth more now than it was before he shredded it. I went to see Banksy's exhibition. It was brilliant. It was in Salford, Media City. Another 2,000 suspected gang members land in El Salvador's mega prison. Yeah, absolutely no problem with that whatsoever. Another 2,000 suspected gang members were shipped to El Salvador's revered mega prison, the country's president announced on Wednesday as he unveiled more footage of the impossible to escape facility. The new arrivals joined another 2,000 accused gangsters that landed in the new centre for confinement of terrorism last month. El Salvador's got a massive problem. They're trying to sort it out, and it might look inhumane the way they're treating the people there, but these people are not nice people. These people are gangland murderers. These people are drug peddlers. These people are rapists. These people are not nice people. And El Salvador needs to stop what's going on in El Salvador. And if this is the only way they can do it, then fair play to them. It's not like they're executing them or doing anything like that. They're putting them in a prison where they can't get out of. And yeah, absolutely no problem with that. If it solves the problem for normal, law-abiding citizens of the country, then yeah, that's fine by me. Parkinson's disease linked to common chemical banned in Europe but allowed in 48 US states. See, we say that, the thing about the Irish border we were talking about earlier is quite complicated, and it is quite complicated. But surely to God, having different states having different laws about different ingredients, yet you can travel from one state to the other without any problem. So if something's manufactured in state A but it's got an ingredient in that state B don't allow you to manufacture food to, can you still sell that stuff? Anyway, I don't know. A chemical widely used to dry clean clothes has been linked to the rise of Parkinson's disease, the world's fastest growing brain condition. The connection between Parkinson's disease and, I'm not even going to say it, but trichloroethylene, or TCE, has been suspected for decades. I did well then, I thought. But a new report delivers damning evidence against the product, which has dozens of military, industrial, commercial and medical uses in the United States of America, but has been banned in Europe for a considerable length of time. Again, stuff like that, health-wise, you think everyone in the world would communicate to each other and say, look, you know, we think this is detrimental to health for this reason, that reason, the other. Do you want to have a look at it and see what you think for your people? New York PD boss Keechant Sewell looks to improve public's perception of cops and police precincts. Yes, just get your cops to stop shooting people just because they're black, and also get your cops to stop people shooting people. A 17-year-old gunned down in broad daylight in Brooklyn shooting. A 17-year-old boy was shot dead in broad daylight in Brooklyn on Wednesday evening, according to police. Police responded to a report of an assault at Sacrotaga Avenue and Prospect Place in Brownsville shortly before 5 p.m. When police arrived at the scene, they found a teenager with a gunshot wound to the torso. He was transported to a medical centre where he was pronounced dead. No one has been arrested in the murder case. Solve the murders, police department. People might like you more then. Trump media probed by feds for possible money laundering. The truth is out there. Former President Donald Trump's social media company was scrutinised by federal prosecutors for possibly violating money laundering laws after receiving $8 million in loans from a lender with ties to an ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin, according to a report. The loans questioned were wired to Trump media in late 2021 and early 2022 from Paxim Bank, which is registered in the small Caribbean island of Dominica. So does that mean Trump and Putin are actually sharing money with each other? Putin and Trump. It's a nice couple, isn't it? Greta Thunberg. God. Reportedly deletes a 2018 tweet claiming climate change will wipe out all of humanity by 2023. Well, we're in 2023. Yeah, you smug little git. Climate activist Greta Thunberg has reportedly deleted a 2018 tweet warning that climate change will wipe out all of humanity by 2023 if fossil fuel usage continued. The now 20-year-old Swedish activist tweet referred to a grim warning from Harvard University professor of atmospheric chemistry. So yeah, unsurprisingly, we're not all dead yet, and if we are going to die, it's not going to be from driving our cars with petrol in it. But I think when you're a teenager, I mean, I wasn't an activist of any shape, form or whatever. I wouldn't have done this when I was a teenager, I'll be honest with you. And I certainly wouldn't weigh myself the way I do every week and then put it on a media where people could watch it, because I was so paranoid about everything and so shy. So fair play to her at a time for, you know, having the kahunas to speak her mind and not backtrack on it. But you're very idealistic when you're a teenager. You know, you think you're going to live forever. You think you're bulletproof. You think you're amazing. You think you know everything. You think you know better than everyone else. But as you get older, you realise that actually what's going on is as good as it can be under the circumstances. Yes, we need to stop doing fossil fuels, but we can't do it overnight. We need, as I said earlier on, when we're talking about the nuclear power stations being reclassified in the UK as a sustainable energy source, we need stuff like that, but that takes time to build. And if we're building these things, in the meantime, we've got to use what we've got available. So yeah, I think we're all a bit more climate aware, and I think, you know, I don't know about you, but all my light bulbs in the house are now all LED, and you know, I walk to Wigan more than I drive to Wigan. In fact, I only really use the car if I'm doing a pretty big shop, or I'm going to my mother's. I don't generally use the car for any other reason. So yeah, we're all doing our bit, but we can't overnight change things. And maybe maybe this will wake her up. Thinking, well, you know, we're all going to be dead in 2023. We're now in 2023. None of us are dead. No one's died from climate change yet, at all. So maybe I need to rethink what I'm doing. And yeah, fair play. A New York trio, including ex-Smith & Wesson employee, arrested in ghost gun ring takedown. Now, what's a ghost gun? Well, you're not going to find out here anyway. A man who used to assemble firearms for Smith & Wesson was busted along with two cohorts for allegedly trafficking weapons, including untraceable ghost guns and AR style rifles, into New York, authorities said on Wednesday. They partnered up to run firearms from Massachusetts to the Empire State and sell them to criminal gangs. Now, gun laws wouldn't stop that. And again, obviously we have guns around in the UK which are illegal, and ghost guns, which basically means I assume that the serial numbers have been wiped off them so they're untraceable. The only way you can trace the guns is by ballistics. So look at the bullets that are involved in crimes and then compare them to bullets involved in other crimes. And then when you get the gun, you can then fire bullets out of that gun and then see if the bullets out of that gun match to any of the, and so on and so forth. But yeah, I mean, that kind of gun crime is more difficult to actually stop. But the problem you've got in America is the fact that Americans are just allowed to have guns willy-nilly. Bitter End nightclub. Dallas nightclub shooting leaves 2 dead and 1 injured. 2 people are dead and 1 is injured after a shooting at a Dallas nightclub in the Deep Ellum area. Authorities are still searching for the suspect. I mean, irony can be ironic at times. Yeah, where are you going? I'm going to the Bitter End nightclub. Is that a good idea? Yeah, what can happen? Los Angeles are fleeing public transportation amid violence and open drug use, and described it as a horror. Public transportation in Los Angeles is seeing a spike in violence and open drug use, which is keeping other riders away from the subway, according to recent reports. This is where I have for the what's it called? That long thing they're building in Saudi Arabia somewhere. Not the Edge, the Wall. Is it the Wall? That long city they're building that's like 200 miles long but about that wide. It's just going to end up as a den of drug use and you know, porn and stuff like that. That's what happens. Things that are too big just get took over by crime. Son of Colorado mass shooting victim sues gun manufacturer Sturm and Ruger & Co. The son of one of the victims of the 2021 mass shooting at a grocery store in Boulder, Colorado, is suing gun makers Sturm and Ruger & Co. for complicity in the attack. Now, sadly, I don't think he's going to get anywhere with it, but maybe Americans are waking up at last. But does it take losing your son in a mass shooting to actually do that? HS2, yeah, no, HS2 is in the UK. Texas DPS warns about travelling to Mexico because of gun crime in Mexico. The Texas Department of Public Safety, DPS, is urging Texans to avoid travelling to Mexico during spring break due to ongoing violence crossing the US-Mexico border. Now, I'm sorry, but it's a weird picture they've chose, but this young lad here is more likely to get shot outside his school than he probably is in Mexico. I mean, talk about pot calling the kettle black, or whatever it is. I mean, gun crime is rife amongst teenagers in America, so why are you telling them not to go to Mexico because of violence? I mean, I wouldn't go to Mexico because of violence, but it seems ironic that, you know, what we've talked about a lot is, I mean, you can't say how old that lad is, but the people around him, they're all teenagers, youngish teenagers. Many of them, I mean, obviously not all of them, but many of them are victims of gun crime or perpetrators of gun crime. That's what you need to sort out. And if people choose to go somewhere where there's gun crime, well, that's a different thing. But what you need to do is take the gun crime away from where they live and where they go to school. A few Americans see Russian military as a critical threat to the US. Well, yeah, I think the majority of the world see Russian military as, well, inept, if I'm being polite, or just plain crap, if I'm not. I mean, you know, you look at the... If someone had said to you a couple of years ago that Russia is going to invade Ukraine, what do you think will happen? You basically say that either World War III or Ukraine will be Russian within days, like Crimea was. No one would have predicted what happened, because everyone assumed, I know we know the majority of their tanks are absolute crap and like 40, 50, 60 years old, Cold War stuff. They've got some newer tanks, but the majority of the tanks is old stuff. But no one thought that they'd be as crap as they are. No offence to Ukrainians. In fact, fair play to the Ukrainians for standing up to what the world thought was a major army and now thinks is a bit of a joke. Not a proper joke, because they are war criminals. And many of these soldiers need to go to war trials after this war is over, because the stuff they're doing as individuals is shocking. And shocking is an understatement, but you know what I mean. But yeah, everyone was scared of Russia. I mean, the only thing you've got to be scared of is that little red button that Putin's got. But other than that, I don't think Russia's a threat at all. Magnitude 7.1 earthquake strikes Kermadec Island in New Zealand. Now, New Zealand, to my knowledge, has had definitely 2, possibly 3 major earthquakes. 7.0 is a pretty major earthquake in recent weeks, so keeping an eye on it. There was no tsunami warning, no major damage to anywhere, because it was more off the coast, but they are near a fault, so I'm just praying that New Zealand is not about to go the way of Turkey and Syria. Russian president awards to fighter pilots who downed a US drone. The Kremlin trolled the US on Friday by handing out state awards to the Russian fighter pilots who brought down an American surveillance drone over the Black Sea this week. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu presented the awards to the pilots of 2 Su-27 warplanes that intercepted the unmanned MQ-9 Reaper drone, clipped its propeller and dumped fuel onto it before it went down on Tuesday. So yeah, I mean that's what you do in it. You would rub America's face in it and give your inept pilots an award. No, that's the same picture. Use the same picture for this, and it's like it gets very confusing. Protests erupt in France over Macron raising retirement age without going through Parliament. Basically, he's done what President Trump did. He's just basically signed a decree saying, right, this is now law. I'm president. I can do this. That's it. And you're like, oh my God, that's horrific. Yeah, it's gone up from 62 to 64. It's been 65 in the UK for as long as I can remember, if not longer. Well, definitely longer, for men, and 60 for women. And it has now gone up, I think, or it's going up. Certainly if you're under the age of 50, I think you need to get to 70 before you can claim state pension. And I think if you're under the age of 30, you probably need to get to 75 before you can claim state pension. People are generally living longer, so it kind of makes sense. But yeah, it's 2 years to 64, which is still a year younger than what we've been at for decades. And they're out on the streets burning cars and fighting with the police. You've got to love the French, said no one ever. 2 men hurt in overnight New York City shootings. 2 men were wounded in separate Brooklyn shootings on Thursday, cops said. The violence began around 9 p.m. when a 23-year-old man was blasted in the torso after a dispute. He staggered up to the front door of a grocery store after the shooting but did not go inside. The 32-year-old victim walked up to the front of the grocery store after he was shot and asked for help. But he didn't pour blood on the floor, which is nice of him, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, if this happened in Europe once a month, people would be up in arms about it. Which is probably the wrong thing to say, actually, you think about it. But in America, it's more than once a day. A family on Florida vacation reels in a great white shark, and that is not the model from, although it looks like it, from Jaws. They were going to need a bigger boat. A family on vacation in Florida was left reeling, oh, so many puns, this week when they caught a great white shark during a shark fishing outing. It was a shark fishing outing, for God's sake. I thought they were just fishing for something else. I'm sorry, I even showed you that. I'm embarrassed I didn't read that beforehand. Yeah, it was a shark fishing expedition. So you're going to catch shark. China leader, how do I say that? Jiu, whatever, to visit Moscow in a show of support for Putin. World War III, anyone? I'm just very scared of them two getting together. Yeah, it's not going to end well for anyone. CSX train derails while trying to avoid a semi-truck on tracks in Kentucky. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but a train is on a track. Duff. How can it avoid a semi-truck which is over the? I assume it's gone over the crossing, the level crossing, and has got kind of stranded on there. You can't avoid. There's no steering on a train, so how can anything avoid anything when you're in a train? You can maybe slow down, but you can't avoid it. You can't, adjust the steering or anything. What an absolutely stupid thing to say. Reeling. You're reeling about the. Yes, that was really exciting, wasn't it? Really exciting. Reeling. No, anyway. Another 16-year-old, another person shot in the butt outside a Bronx playground. A team was shot on Thursday when bullets flew outside a playground in the Bronx, an occurrence that residents complained happens all too often. No shit. A 16-year-old boy was shot in the buttocks down the block from Willis Playground, which is near an elementary school. Gunfire erupted around 4:30 p.m. A witness said, "I was right here at the park when everything happened. I heard 3 to 4 gunshots," he said. And the teenager was on the floor with bullet wounds to his buttocks. Again, it's teenagers being shot for no reason. Seriously. Elon Musk brought internet to Brazil's Amazon, and the criminals love it. You've got to love Elon Musk. Brazilian federal agents aboard 3 helicopters descended on an illegal mining site on Tuesday in the Amazon rainforest. They were met with gunfire and the shooters escaped, leaving behind an increasing familiar find for authorities: Starlink internet units. Starlink, a division of Elon Musk's SpaceX, has almost 4,000 low-orbit satellites across the skies, connecting people in remote corners of the Amazon and other parts of the world to the internet. And criminals and drug barons are using that to run the businesses. Brilliant. Brilliant. It's just brilliant. Maybe we need to secretly replace all the guns in the US with water pistols. Yeah, that'd be good, although they'd probably put acid in it, knowing them lot. Russian committed war crimes in Ukraine. UN-backed inquiry finds. Wow. So we needed an inquiry to find out that Russia has committed war crimes in the Ukraine. Really? Really? I don't think we do need. Russia's systematic and widespread practice of torture, rape and killing of civilians during the Ukraine invasion is tantamount to war crimes and possibly crimes against humanity. Wow. I mean, talk about wake up and smell the roses. I mean, surely to God, everyone's been saying that for months, practically since day one, and they've had to have an inquiry to find out. A Florida bill aimed at creating harsher penalties for slow left lane drivers who were supposed to move over. Basically, lane hoggers. Obviously, they drive on the wrong side of the road in America, which is the right side, ironically. Florida legislators are reviewing a measure that makes it easier for law enforcement to penalise drivers cruising in the left lane and not allowing other motorists to pass them. Because the left lane is for overtaking only, as the right lane over here on the motorway is for overtaking only. But you wouldn't know it, the amount of idiots who just sit in the middle lane or the right lane doing like 55 mile an hour whilst on the mobile phone. No, I'm not getting angry. I'm not getting angry. Turkey's president says he will back Finland's NATO bid. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey said on Friday that his government would move forward with ratifying Finland's NATO application, paving the way for the country to join the military bloc ahead of Sweden. The breakthrough came as Finnish president was in Alcantara to meet with the president. Both Finland and Sweden applied to become NATO members 10 months ago in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, abandoning decades of non-alignment. The NATO request, though, require other NATO countries that are in there to ratify it. A bit like when you stand for elections as a local council, you have to have people say that, yes, I back this person to be, if they are elected, a law-abiding and decent councillor. Not that I would know. I've got the forms and everything. A man stands on New York City train car just weeks after teen dies from subway surfing. I mean, the insanity of some people. I mean, one of the big things that's, that was, what was it? Health and safety gone mad kind of thing. You're wearing goggles when you're doing playing conkers in a school playground. I mean, I know that didn't really happen. It was an over-exaggeration what was going on. But that kind of thing. I mean, maybe there are some people we don't want in the gene pool because, these people could bring up and bring people along who run the countries who've got no idea of what common sense is. It does worry me immensely that we are saving people. But a new mind-boggling photo shows a man standing on the top of a train travelling through the Bronx just weeks after a teenager was killed while subway surfing in Brooklyn. The man was photographed wearing a black backpack, sneakers, pants and a short-sleeved shirt as he surfed on the top of the seemingly busy number 5 train. It's a shocking development, and that poor lad who died a few weeks ago, and the one that was seriously injured the week after. Is this a TikTok thing? Is this recommending what you do? And are people that stupid? The old joke is, if you do anything that they say, would you jump off a cliff if they asked you to? And the answer, I think, a lot of people these days is yeah, because they've got no common sense. VA drops Abraham Lincoln quote as motto because it doesn't include women. The Department of Veterans Affairs has dropped a quote from former President Lincoln from its motto because he used male pronouns and did not include women. I mean, talk about nonsense. Bangladesh, yeah, I mean, we talked before about people in India riding on trains, but I mean, they do it because they can't get in the trains. The trains are not regular, and to be fair, there's very little that's going to knock them off the train because they're driving through open countryside. They hang on the sides, they hang on the front, they hang on the engine, they hang everywhere. And I mean, obviously, that's not right either. But to do it on a train in a built-up area where there are obviously overhead things, i.e. cables, gantries, tunnels, bridges, God knows what, it just baffles me. It baffles me a huge amount. Los Angeles schools brace for possible shutdown after union announces a 3-day strike. What do we want? Equitable wages. When do we want them? Now. At least these people are not smiling and they're looking away from the camera because they're angry. A shutdown of schools in Los Angeles, the nation's second largest education system, could be imminent after a union representing workers announced a 3-day strike planned for next week. After almost a year of negotiations, members of the union, otherwise known as Education Workers Union, voted to approve a strike that will be held from Tuesday, March 21st through Thursday, March 23. As I've said many times before, it's not just the United Kingdom that's got these problems. It is all over the world. Doesn't matter what government you've got. I mean, come on, the wet lettuce that is Keir Starmer. What would he do differently? Where would he, his magic money tree that he keeps coming up with? God knows. The City Council is mulling a bill to remove elephants from Bronx Zoo. A Brooklyn politician wants to force the Bronx Zoo to give up the Big Apple's last remaining elephants. A bill introduced this past week by Democratic Councilwoman Shanana Hanif, in essence, would be an elephant captivity citywide by requiring the animals to have habitats of at least 15 acres, which doesn't exist in the city. It would also prohibit elephants from being bred, rode on, or being used for educational or commercial use. Well, I kind of agree with the policy of it, but what I don't agree with is the fact that what they're going to do with the elephants. I mean, if no one wants to take them, what do? Euthanize them. So instead of them suffering in a small compound compared to 15 acres where they've lived for many years, you just shoot them. There is always money for the placards. That's a good point, Deno. Incredible Rare Batman debut Detective Comics could sell for $1.5 million. Check your attic. This comic book could bring in some batty prices. A rare, unrestored copy of the Detective Comics number 27, Batman's 1939 debut, is on an auction block, and the final bid could approach the rare issue's record price of $1.74 million, according to an independent reseller. The $1.5 million is not an unreasonable guess, said Ten Valu, owner of Superworld Comics in Holden, Mass. It may set a record. It's so sought after. It's gonna get lots of people bidding for it. But yeah, if you spent 1.5 million on a comic book, you wouldn't read it, would you? You literally wouldn't read it. You wouldn't touch it. You just put it in a bank vault somewhere. You wouldn't even look at it. I mean, it's just insane. I won't say that because I haven't got one. Super rats as big as cats are invading seaside town in Wales. This is New York Post. The New York Post is posting this. This is the first time I've seen this. To be fair, it looks like a guinea pig rather than a rat, or it's a very fat rat where it's so fat its neck's done what mine's doing. It's got like a triple chin. Rats the size of cats are invading a seaside community in Wales. The alarmingly large rodents, which locals have dubbed super rats, God, that's original, are taking up lodging in Tenby, a popular beach town that attracts thousands of summer tourists, according to The Sun. The particular breed of vermin is resistant to over-the-counter poisons and has such strong teeth they can gnaw through concrete. Residents, what? Wow. Residents there fear the creatures, which measure 20 inches long from head to tail. They can gnaw through concrete. Wow. I mean, that's not a rat. That's a machine. We could do with them in Wigan to knock down the galleries shopping centre. Be a lot cheaper than the big machines we've got, which are basically gnawing through the concrete. Donald Trump says he will be arrested on Tuesday. He's quoted as saying, the faraway leading Republican candidate and former President of the United States of America will be arrested on Tuesday next week. Protest. Take our nation back. I'm sorry, Donald, but I think you're as corrupt as they come. Shiny New York subway already defiled by vagrants, druggies, and scofflaws. This is why we can't have nice things. I say that whenever I get anything nice, it gets damaged instantly. This is why we can't have nice things. Vagrants, junkies, smokers, drinkers, and other scofflaws are already defiling the subway system's newest $27 million train less than a week after it debuted on the A line. The writer of this, who is in New York, witnessed the boorish behaviour last week on the R211, which began running on March the 10th and is the first batch of 1,175 futuristic cars on the MTA, which they are buying over the next 2 years for $3.2 million. Billion dollars, sorry, not $1 million. The trains are millions of dollars. Yeah, you can't have nice things. King Charles asked troops to keep it down when patrolling the palace. Brilliant. King Charles has a bone to pick with the King's Guards. The 74-year-old monarch has ordered the troops to quiet down, complaining the changing of the guard ceremony it has been too noisy, distracting him from his state business, according to a leaked memo from the King Charles Equerry obtained office. His Majesty remarked the other day how loud the outgoing sentries were at St James's Palace, and yeah, they are very loud, but they have to be loud so the tourists can hear them. It seems as well that King Charles is I read somewhere, is moving into Buckingham Palace, which makes very little sense because his mother, the Queen, just referred to it as the office because she didn't like being there because it was too noisy. National Archives can't find painting of Trump and golf clubs gifted to the former president. A massive portrait and several golf clubs gifted to the former President Donald Trump by foreign leaders while in office are unaccounted for, according to a report released by House Democrats on Friday. The missing gifts are among more than 100 worth nearly $300,000 that Trump and his family failed to disclose as required by law. Again, I don't understand what's wrong with that. If you get gifted something because people like you, then they are yours. Why do they go to the national coffers? If it's a panda or something that they're lending you, that's different. Charles is so different to the late Queen. You're right, he is different. For a start, he's a man. But yeah, we need something different, to be fair. So we'll see how he goes. Twitter's Elon Musk predicts Trump will win re-election if he's in. Twitter's Elon Musk predicts Trump will win re-election in landslide victory if he's arrested. Twitter CEO Elon Musk is predicting that an indictment of former President Donald Trump could lead to a landslide victory in the 2024 presidential election. God, I hope not. Hopefully they arrest him. He's actually guilty of whatever it is they're arresting him for, and he's not allowed to stand. That would be the perfect solution. A rural California community left on its own as police staffing shortages brings an end to daytime patrols. A sheriff's office in rural Northern California cut daytime patrol over severe staffing issues, with residents reporting you're on your own. Yeah, the sheriff's office is closed during the day. You couldn't write it, could you? And finally, in America, thank God, Alaskan Education Board urges state to keep trans athletes out of sports not aligned with both sex. Now, this is an evil, twisted thing that keeps going on and on and on. There's arguments on both sides. If you're transgender and you're a male who's changed to female, and you're an athlete, then legally you are female, you're allowed to compete. However, if you were born male, no matter what you go through, your bone structure and your muscle density, etc., is different from that of someone born female. Therefore, you may have an advantage against people who are born female. It's a can of worms that you just don't want to open. But it has to be opened, and people have to figure this out. And yeah, I don't think there's an easy solution to it. Other than having a trans sports body, maybe. But yeah, the world needs Trump back. Oh God. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not a big fan of Biden. You'd be saying we get Boris back soon. Oh jeez, no, please, please God, no, please. Anyway, meanwhile, down under, not so many today, thank God. Maxibon to reduce the size of its ice cream, but the price will remain the same. I mean, are Australians just waking up to this? They've been doing this over here for donkey's years. The iconic Maxibon ice cream is set to shrink this month following a statement released by the company. While it remains unknown how much of the 102 gram product will be removed, the recommended retail price will not change. I imagine if they're resizing something like that, they're going to have to change all the machinery and everything, so that's going to cost them money. So yeah, it's a complicated one, but yeah. New wearable baby monitors for high-risk pregnancies. You will soon be able to monitor the baby's heart rate from home. Now, I think this is a genius idea. Women with high-risk pregnancies could soon benefit from new technology that can help monitor a fetus. pregnant women will be able to apply it easily at home without the need to go to hospital. So if you're worried about the baby, you don't have to have a trip to hospital. You can actually check, a bit like you can with the things that you can have for diabetes that you have on your arm. You can just check what your blood sugar level is, and then things that you put your fingers on to check your heartbeat and all that. So it's good that these kind of things are coming online, and this is the kind of technology that we need. This is a massive eruption of a volcano, and it's again, we don't have stuff like this in the UK, which I'm so grateful for. Clouds of hot ash and lava exploded from a volcano in Indonesia overnight, forcing authorities to halt tourism and mining activities. The eruption blocked out the sun and blanketed several villages with falling ash in Java. So far, no casualties have been reported. If they remove the cream, it could be expensive ice. Indeed. Or they could replace it with pig fat, which seems to be a big thing this week. And what is it? Badger urine. Aussies are expecting to fork out almost 19 billion Australian dollars more for groceries in 2023. And we thought our inflation was high. Each Australian, $19 billion more for groceries? Jesus. It costs $5 billion to do a weekly shop now in no, it's obviously the whole of Australia. But yeah, the way it was worded. Yeah, but that's why I cover it. Volcanoes and earthquakes are certainly gaining momentum around the world at the moment. Long-standing Oscars tradition is broken at the 95th Academy. I actually stayed up and watched I don't watch movies. None of the movies I'd seen. None of the movies I want to see. Apart from that, Everything Everywhere, whatever, because I think it's just going to mash your brain up. I'd have a few Guinness and then watch it. Hollywood's Night of Nights is now underway, but there is one noticeable absence from the 95th Academy Awards. In a break from tradition, Will Smith, the winner of last year's Best Actor, will not present the Best Actress award in the 2023 ceremony because he was not invited to the ceremony at all, because he slapped Chris Rock. Insane. Pardon me. While the 4-day working week is being embraced by nations including Australia, one country has launched a controversial 69-hour work week plan. What's that country? South Korea. Not North Korea, South Korea. According to new data, Australians are paying thousands more on their groceries compared to this time last year. Oh, maybe it is. Oh no, there you go. See, it's brought it down from billions of dollars to 1,924 Australian dollars more per year. So yeah, again, it's not just the UK that's got inflation problems. It's happening all over the world, and I don't think we are paying anywhere near. I know it's Australian dollars, so you probably break that down to about 800 quid for British pounds. I don't think an average family would pay more than that for their food this year compared to last year. So yeah, no, it was quite boring. There was nothing happened at all that was of interest. To be fair, that's why I never mentioned it. Rock, paper, slap. Phrases like "shut up," "don't be an ass," and "don't be an idiot" are set to be changed in the first of the famous 5 adventure collection, 5 Have a Puzzling Time. Now, Enid Blyton's famous 5 series is changed to suit modern readers. I mean, for God's sake. Seriously. It's just getting a joke. And how many people are actually pushing for this? What, 1% of the entire world's population, if not less? Yet they're dictating to the rest of the world what we can say and what we can do. I tell you what, I've had enough of it. I really have. It is just... It'd be funny if it wasn't so bloody serious. They report as well the 2 male mice having babies. Scientists at a Japanese university have created the impossible, a mice with 2 biological fathers. The scientists deleted the Y chromosome, duplicated the X chromosome, and then combined the 2 X's, permitting the stem cell to be programmed to become an egg. If you understood that, you're a smarter person than me, because I don't understand a word of that. Dick Fosbury, who revolutionised the high jump with his innovative backward style that became known as the Fosbury flop, as they died at the age of 76. Yeah, the Fosbury flop is a fairly recent addition to the way that people jump over. They used to jump over like that, like diving into a pool. and then he did it backwards and found out you could go. I don't know how you can go higher backwards. I think it's the fact that your legs bend that way, so you can flip them up when you get over. But it does seem weird. But anyway, yeah, everyone does it that way now. Anyway, the guy sadly has passed away at the age of 76. I can only assume he was Australian because it was in Australian news. The children were, well, a 3-year-old girl shoots and kills her sister aged 4. The children were reportedly left unsupervised in a bedroom because each parent thought the other was watching them. It was in America. It's not in Australia. We didn't get that in American news because it's not newsworthy, one assumes. Nike to stop using kangaroo leather in boots. You're like, they used kangaroo leather in boots? Nike has become the latest global sportswear producer to hop on the trend of stopping using kangaroo leather in its football boots. The sportswear giant says their Tempo soccer shoes will switch to a priority synthetic upper by the end of this year. Now, I mean, I've never even heard of kangaroo leather, although you can make leather out of human skin, I suppose, so kangaroo leather, you know, it's the same kind of thing. But aren't kangaroos considered rodents? So surely, I don't know. Maybe it's just to stop vegans complaining. I'm not buying your shoes because you've got kangaroo in them. I don't know. Vegemite brownies unveiled in stores. Marmite. Think Marmite. Yeast extract. Savoury. It was the first Vegemite. First it was Vegemite roast chucks. Then it was Vegemite hot cross buns. But now it's Vegemite brownies. Best known for their baked good mixes, Greens has launched an all-new controversial dessert in a major supermarkets featuring the iconic Aussie yeast extract spread. Would you cook up a batch? Would I cook up a cake with a very salty, yeasty... No. No. I would not. It sounds vile. No, I will not be reviewing it. To be fair, it's not available in the UK. Unless Mar might think, oh, that's a good idea, we'll do that. A Russian fighter jet has collided with a US Air Force drone over the Black Sea. This is obviously breaking news. Everyone panicking, thinking it's the end of the world. It might well be, like I said before. Paul Keating has sensationally savaged Anthony Albanese's AUKUS submarine announcement, describing the deal as the worst international decision by an Australian Labour government since World War One. For $360 billion, we're going to get 8 submarines. It must be the worst deal of all time in all history. I mean, I'm not sure how expensive nuclear submarines are, but I'm pretty sure we're talking billions each, many billions each, and particularly of Australian dollars, because like I said before, Australian dollars are worth naff all compared to the British pound. So you could probably say they're getting 8 for 150, 180 million pounds, which I think is actually decent value in today's day and age, especially with rising prices. My TV's going to switch off in a minute. I have to press OK. Beggar release plant-based cheese range. But it's not cheese. It's plant-based. The dairy-free cheese will be available shredded and in slices. There is some good news for vegans and people with sensitive stomachs. Beggar have released a new plant-based cheese range which is available in Coles stores from today. It comes as Australians increasingly embrace dairy-free alternatives on the diet. Now, I must admit, I am dairy sensitive. Last year I had a lot of issues with emergency toilet visits, which when I was walking along the canal was not an easy thing to actually overcome, and I couldn't figure out what it was. But I was eating a lot of ice cream last year, but I was buying the cheapest ice cream, assuming it wasn't dairy. Turns out it's now dairy. So I was getting irritable bowel and all that kind of stuff, and yeah, it was messy at times. I stopped eating ice cream, and the problems completely vanished, absolutely gone. So yeah, I can see that why people want to go for plant-based, but plant-based cheese is not pleasant. Most plant-based stuff that's plants that they process so much, it ends up looking like whatever it's meant to replace. What's happened here? Something's happened in Latin America. Something in Latin America. Oh, southern Ecuador earthquake kills at least 12. At least 12 people have died after a powerful earthquake struck the southern coast of Ecuador. Buildings have been damaged in several cities following the 6.7 magnitude quake, which hit around midday local time, which was 5 o'clock GMT. The southern province of El Oro was the worst affected, where emergency service have reported people remained trapped inside collapsed houses. Literally, like we were just saying. Yeah, that's how I started off. I started off with migraines, Angela. You've just said then that cheese gives you migraines. I got away from dairy products because I got migraines and vomiting and stuff like that. But it didn't make me paralytically ill. You know, it didn't turn me into a zombie or anything. It just made so I say I'm not allergic. I'm sensitive. But yeah, I had major issues last year with eating too much ice cream. Expert calls for vaping ban as uptake soars. Yeah, I mean, can you imagine if someone for fucking years has been saying, why do people vape? Why do people buy these things for a couple of quid, vaporize chemicals that they don't know what they are, and then let them go into the lungs, and then breathe them out? Why do people do that? And now all of a sudden they're banning it. America, there's a few states looking at banning it. We're looking at banning it for teenagers over here, although they already are technically banned from it. You've got to be 18 to buy vaping stuff. But looking into it over here, the long-term medical effects from putting these chemicals in your lungs are unknown. And yeah, it's just absolutely ridiculous that vaping has been allowed to get as big as it has. A truck filled with potatoes rolls over. Bad news for hot chip lovers. I don't know what hot chip is. A truck filled with spuds has rolled at Keith in South Australia southeast as a potato shortage continues across the country. The smashed potatoes are expected to be cleared by later today, but their trucks in Australia are huge. We are talking road trucks. Well, they're called road trains because some of them are practically the size of a train. Obviously the trains in Australia and America are a lot bigger than the trains over here in the UK. They're like miles long. How they even put them together and take them apart again, I don't know. I used to vape, but the huge cloud tanks, not the pens. Hi Foxstar. But yeah, the potato thing is not the potato thing. The fact it says on it, a potato shortage continues across the country in Australia because their weather is so bad. Their crops are not growing properly. It's all over the world. It's not just here. And people just think it's the Tory government and all that kind of, yeah, okay, they've messed up, don't get me wrong. And I'm not saying, well, I definitely know Labour couldn't necessarily do any better. But yeah, it's all over the world. The whole planet is screwed. Now, whether it's the Illuminati or whatever controlling things from above, I don't know. Whether it's God getting fed up with us, I doubt it because he doesn't exist. But yeah, there's lots of stuff going on. A coal shopper has shared a little known flybuys hack to save up to 8 cents a litre on petrol as the cost of living crisis escalates. Basically, the cost of fuel in Australia is going up exponentially. It's $1.78.9, so it's $1.78.9 a litre, which translates to probably around about a quid, maybe just over a quid a litre. But for Australians, that is excessive. So someone's come up with this hack, which doesn't work over here. But yeah, like I say, it's not just here. It's all over the world. All over the world. Dum dum dum. Dum dum dum. I bet they feel mashed about it. A big chip off the old block. Video shows dead fish floating on top of a vast area of water. Millions of fish have just been found on this water. They've tested the water. They can't find anything wrong with it. They don't know what's happened, so they're looking into it. They're wondering if it's a disease or something. Baby Amity, who was induced in an induced coma after swallowing a button battery, is now awake and breathing unassisted. Her father has confirmed even. Now, well, when we first started doing American news in particular last year, one of the things that they come up with was telling Americans not to feed their children the disc batteries, the 2032s batteries to their children, because it will kill them. And we're like, yeah, obviously. Now, this obviously is an accident, but this poor child has been put in a coma because she ate or swallowed one of these batteries, but thankfully she's making a full recovery, which is good news. We like good news. Hi, Stuart. Impossible chicken nuggets made from plants, but now they're banned from Australia because they have a banned substance in them. No, it's not chicken. They are plant-based, but a plant-based chicken nugget product has been banned from having too much calcium panthenate. While the ingredient can be found naturally in many foods, Australia does not allow the substance in meat analogues, as excess amounts can lead to serious health issues. So who knew being vegetarian's bad for your health? Me. What will they come up with next? Anyway, that was the news down under, Dave. News down under, Dave. Yeah, the news down under. Meanwhile, last one, not so many for India, you'll be pleased to hear, because this has been going on for quite a while now. What are we on? We're on 3 hours. Jesus Christ. This is the longest one I've done, but we did a lot on the budget, and then we talked a lot about other things as well. So yeah, 3 hours this has been on for. Bus carrying pilgrims overturns and 5 people are critical. Again, horrific, but there seems to be, I mean, America has the gun problems and the rail problems, the derailment and all that kind of thing. There's a lot of problems in India with vehicle crashes, serious vehicle crashes. But yeah, it's just not very good. No confirmed advances by Russian forces in Bakhmut, says think tank, but high casualties in the Donetsk as war rages. Yeah, even India is covering the war in Ukraine closely as well. Oscars 2023 Natu Natu performance gets a standing ovation. I must admit, I was sat there on my own. It was like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I'm watching it, and they come on and they do this dance, and it was, for me, it was like when Riverdance was at Eurovision. When we first saw Riverdance, we'd never seen anything like it before. You know, 2-3 rows of people all dancing in unison to this weird music. It was like amazing, and this was the same. They were doing. It was from an Indian film, and it won an Oscar. The actual music as well. It was performed live on stage. It got a standing ovation from everyone present, and yeah, I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was really, really well done. They recreated it on stage. They had various dancers around as well, who obviously weren't in the movie, because when they showed the clip of the movie, there was only 2 of them doing it, whereas on stage everyone was doing it, and it was literally one of them moments, like when you saw the first ever Riverdance on Eurovision when it was in Ireland in the 80s or whenever it was. Superb, really, really, really good indeed. If you get a chance, Natu Natu Oscars 2023, just watch it. There'll be a clip somewhere. It's well worth watching. I mean, I'm not into dance, don't get me wrong. I don't watch Strictly Come Dancing. I don't watch any dancing programs. I don't watch any talent shows. I'm not into that kind of thing at all. I wouldn't go to watch a musical. I wouldn't go and watch this live. But for the time and the place where it was amazing. And yeah, well deserved Oscar as well. No news that I can report about the shop, sadly. And Deno, yes, I've been going on about this since forever. What I don't understand is how much energy and process goes into vegetarian food to make it look like meat. It just baffles me. If you're a vegetarian, eat vegetables. You know, eat. You know, when we saw veggie burgers initially, they were mashed potato with peas in it and a bit of breadcrumbs around it, and that was your veggie burger or equivalent. That's what they should be like. That's more environmentally friendly. using all this energy to tear something to shreds, to then pulverize it, to then transform it into something that it's not, i.e. chicken or beef or God knows what, cheese. It defies my logic. It's like, you know, like making all cars electric. It's just bonkers. It just makes no sense. It's not good for the environment. To make cars electric, you've got to dig all these precious metals out of the planet. You've got to transport them around the world. You've got to set up all these charging points around the world. And then you've got to get rid of the batteries when they're done. We can't even put normal batteries in the bin. We're supposed to put them in the supermarkets, in the things they've got there to collect the batteries. Processed food that's been processed so much that you can't identify what it was, how can that be good for you? It just can't. It just makes no sense. And the amount of energy goes into making it, it makes no sense whatsoever. It's absolute tosh, in my opinion. Isn't corn just mushrooms? I like mushrooms. I love mushrooms. I eat raw mushrooms. You know, when I get a tub of mushrooms, I will eat them raw. I love mushrooms. When I was a kid, obviously I hated mushrooms. All kids hate mushrooms. 99.9% of kids hate mushrooms. But I love mushrooms now. I absolutely adore them. And I always have a chomp on one when I'm cooking and that kind of thing. I hate corn. I've tried corn so many times in so many different ways, and it always leaves a horrible aftertaste at the back of my throat, which I can't get rid of. No matter what I do, eat, drink, whatever, it's still there, that horrible, vile taste. And the texture of it, like, I reviewed their, I bought some chicken wings, corn chicken wings. I think there was corn chicken wings. But obviously there's no bones in them, so they are not chicken wings. Oh, and there's no chicken in them, so they're not chicken wings. They have the texture of solid mashed potato. They have the taste of corn, because they are corn. And they were horrible. And someone commented after I put the video up a few weeks later. It's an old video. Someone commented on it and said, my daughter bought these when I sent to the shop for some chicken wings. She said, and he said I was fuming. And I've watched your review, and I'm more fuming now than I was before. But I'll give them a try. And then a couple of days later, I tried them. I ate one of them, threw the rest away. No, it's sorry. Russian jet causes US spy drone to crash over Black Sea. Moscow denies collision. Yeah, didn't happen. A magnitude earthquake strikes in New Zealand, so they reported it in, to be fair, that probably was the same thing I read before. Delhi residents stage sit-in to protest rising dog bite cases. According to a report, 58,000 cases of dog bites were reported within 6 months in Delhi's Dr. Ram Manor, Lohar and Safrajang hospitals. 58,000 dog bites. I mean, Jesus Christ. No one's buying electric cars, they're getting cheaper. Yeah, but second-hand electric cars, you're basically buying, you know, I don't sell in my shop second-hand PlayStation 3 or second-hand PlayStation 4, and I will not sell second-hand PlayStation 5 controllers. I will sell Xbox 360, Xbox One, Xbox Series X controllers all day long once I've checked them out. But I won't buy them because the majority of people selling these controllers, the PlayStation controller, are selling them because there's something wrong with it. And what's usually wrong with it is the battery. The charge on the battery doesn't last. The batteries are built in. You can swap them, but it's incredibly fiddly and an absolute nightmare to do. So I don't buy them. I don't even look at them. I just say I don't do them. I don't even pick them up. I don't do them. I don't do second-hand PlayStation controllers because the battery's built in, and rechargeable batteries are a pain in the arse to replace. It's probably cheaper to throw the thing away and less fiddly and buy a new controller. And most people have only one controller anyway, so why the hell would you sell a controller if you've only got one because you play online with your mates? Whereas the Series X controller has a battery compartment. So you take that out, you check that everything's alright there, you put a couple of batteries in, you check it's all working, all the buttons are not sticky and all that, and off you go. because nothing's built in. All you need to do is put 2 new batteries in and you're away. And I never get any problems from them. But I wouldn't touch second-hand stuff. So I would never buy a second-hand electric car for exactly the same reason. You're basically buying a problem that someone's trying to get rid of. It's not happening. Now, interestingly, I watched a bit of a Top Gear program from 10 years ago, thereabouts, and they were electric cars, and they were trying to get not a very long distance with these electric cars, and they were slow, they were cumbersome, they took 14 hours to charge up, and it was an absolute nightmare. And James May said in that car, the problem with electric cars is, I mean, obviously they've come a long way since then, but the problem with electric cars is the batteries. They are the problem. They weigh a lot. They weigh less now because technology's got better, but they weigh a lot. And what do you do with them when they run out? Well, you just throw the car away. You can't just take the batteries out and put new batteries in. What do you do with it? And that has been another one of my arguments against electric cars. Electric cars are not the future. Do not be bamboozled into thinking it is. The bats die fast and most folks don't replace it, or they have a stick drift or dead USB. Yeah, there's always a problem with them. But I don't get a problem with generally with the Xbox controllers, and I'll take the serial numbers of them all as well, so I know it's the same one coming back if there is a problem. Spain police arrest 16 in olive heist. Police have arrested and investigated 21 people behind the theft of 17,500 kilograms of olives in the Las Vegas region of Spain. 16 have been arrested and 5 others investigated. And this is news because, well, to be fair, it's the news because that's the only thing that India's put up when I looked that was interesting, which brings us, after 3 hours and 21 minutes, to and finally. This has been a mammoth show. Everything I'm doing at the moment is huge. I've got a massive video to edit to put together, but I won't be able to do that now until tomorrow because it's already 20 past 11. I'm not having my tea yet. I'm not having my tea yet. I'm not having my tea. Yeah, so, and finally, so this is stuff that's amused me moderately, light-hearted stuff. Where we go? There we go. There we go. Evidence: a woman claiming to be Madeleine McCann was trafficked, says a psychic. A report suggests US authorities were accommodating in trying to get the young Polish woman into the country following her claims that she's the girl who vanished in Portugal in 2007. Psychics, they don't exist. They're con people. Woman shares reason for infidelity as more married females cheat on husbands. Joe Plaza, author and host of iHeartRadio podcast, says She Wants More, spoke to a number of women who admit to cheating on their other halves to find out why they really do it. So yeah, it's not the men cheating anymore now, it's the women cheating. I suppose that's equality, isn't it? A ghost hunter attacked by violent spirit and left bloody live on Facebook. No, he wasn't. Matt Paranormal, yep, that's his name, claims he felt a sharp scratch after supposedly hearing a spirit give him a violent warning through an Alice box during a Facebook Live in a recent investigation. Absolute twaddle, fake. He's called himself bloody... no, absolute... No, just get rid of him. Gone. Putin sends female convicts to Ukraine frontline after heavy losses of men. So not only is he sending kids, now apparently he's sending, again, pinch of salt, he's sending women prisoners. They are being offered a reduced prison sentence in return for serving on the front line. Now whether that's a sexist remark coming up, sexist remark warning. I don't know if that's tea and biscuits or whatever to the troops. I don't know what they're serving up on the front line. But yeah, sorry, I couldn't resist. A Russian soldier paid just £42 a month for a service during Ukraine invasion. The soldier who went by Alexander also revealed that despite his contract with the Russian army ending in November, his commanders have kept him and other soldiers on the front line. So he no longer works for them. He gets £42. Admitted money-wise, £42 goes a lot further in Russia, particularly the outskirts of Russia, than it does in the UK. But £42 a month is pretty poor. Time traveller from 2049 claims world will be struck by zombie virus by 2024. Trevor the Time Traveller claims the human race will be struck by a zombie virus between 2023 and 2024 in a warning to his hundreds of followers, and he's on a mission from the year 2049. Deco equality, I felt a sharp scratch today. It was the bloody cat. Hey Paul, yes indeed. Yeah, absolute nonsense. Having said that, we did look at the permafrost zombie viruses that were being reignited by scientists because they're mad. So it is a possibility. A couple discover huge beehive hidden inside their home after honey starts dripping down the walls. Now surely to God you'd hear the noise of bees. A couple find huge beehive hidden in the home after honey drips down the walls. I mean, it's bonkers. It's bonkers. Zombie apocalypse is called TikTok. 42 quid you could buy 6 eggs from Master from that. Yes indeed. You might get a banana thrown in as well. People are only realising vanilla ice cream ingredient contains beaver's urine. Oh, it's not badger's urine, it's beaver's urine. Have you ever wondered what entirely in your food? Well, you might think twice about eating vanilla ice cream now after one massive revelation just came to light. We eat a lot of stuff. I mean, Smarties, I don't think they do now, but Smarties up to fairly recently, particularly the red ones, the red coating of them and the red colouring was crushed beetle shells, as in the beetles, creepy crawly beetles. Crushed them, they were red, crushed the shells, processed them, put them on the things. Off you go, kids, eat Smarties. They're not vegan. Skint drug dealer begs for orders so he's not forced to do helicopter on OnlyFans. Oh my God. In his text, the desperate dealer says he will be forced to turn to the adult subscription site if orders don't come in, writing he is feeling the bite from the cosy living crisis. Imagine having a drug dealer on your phone anyway is a bit weird. But then him saying he's going to have to do the helicopter on OnlyFans. I wish I could do the helicopter. I haven't got a chance. It's oh God, I could only dream of such a thing and being able to do that. Yeah, I'm lucky if I could do a stump. Anyway, deadly radioactive cylinder missing since February as cops quiz scrap dealers. Good news is it's in Thailand. The authorities in Thailand are asking for the public's help after a 5-inch metal container containing deadly cesium-137 went missing from a power station close to Bangkok. How the can you lose nuclear waste? Well, I thought it was ice cream, but I've been eating a lot of beef. God. Steven Seagal bizarrely says he's now Russian and Putin's greatest world leader ever. Well, he has to say that, otherwise he's going to fall out accidentally of a hotel window in Moscow, isn't he? Meghan Markle had childhood ambition to join royal family, says Hollywood star. Succession star Brian Cox, who's actually British to be fair, says Meghan Markle's claims to have known very little about the royal family don't ring true, and she knew exactly what she was getting into when she joined the royal family. No poo, Sherlock. Don't want to worry you or anything, but a huge asteroid is spotted this week and is going to fly closer to Earth than the moon on Friday. The good news is it's Saturday and we're still here. Asteroid 23EY was only spotted by telescope on Monday, March the 13th, and is set to come closer to Earth than the moon on Friday, March the 17th, as it travels 10 times faster than a bullet. Now the good news is it's Saturday and we're still alive, and we've not heard of anything happening anywhere in the world apart from sadly this earthquake. Now don't you hate it when people use your OnlyFans photographs and then put other people's bodies on, heads on them or whatever? It does my head in. Here's a perfect example. Obviously I'm only joking. On my OnlyFans I'm not wearing the thong. ASOS is selling bikini bottoms for men that leave very little to the imagination. Well, Speedos don't leave much to the imagination, and I'll be honest with you, some particularly teenage lads have been walking around with shorts what are they called? fleece shorts that are that tight that leaves nothing to the imagination as well. So I don't think this is necessarily news, but ASOS has given men new swimwear options by offering up waterproof briefs that look very much like bikini bottoms. They are described as form-fitting as well as soft, stretchy and quick drying. Now I went through a phase of buying crap off the Wish app, and I ended up buying some stuff like that because it was cheap and it would be horrendous. And you know, I did there's a whole playlist of Wish app stuff. Some of the stuff I try on, obviously the underwear I didn't try on. Well, I did, but not on camera. And no, it's not for me. It's certainly not comfortable. I mean, admitted, these are probably nicer and better. And some of them were very, very weird. They had compartments. That's all I'm saying, for bits. It was very bizarre indeed. And no, I'll stick with my my boxers. Thank you very much. But yeah, nice to know. But yeah, can't believe they used that picture of me on that. Charles Bronson says he'll make a threesome sex tape in a museum when he's released. The high-profile lag has spent some 48 years behind bars and has had plenty of time to work out what he'll do when he's free, including a Big Brother stint, so he wants to go on Big Brother, and an explicit sex video. They look drafty. Yes, they are. They are not. They're not going to keep you warm in the winter. Put it that way. Bought stuff off Wish. You can see the dates on the coins in my pockets. Yeah. T-shirts completely see-through. Absolutely, you know, pointless. But I still wear some of them occasionally when I'm taking the mickey at myself. I think one thing I got was a button-up shirt, black button-up shirt that had stripes down it. That was not as opaque as the other stripes in between. And yeah, it's nipples everywhere kind of thing. But yeah, it makes me laugh. Teacher mistakenly shared explicit pic of himself thinking that Twitter was private. What are they teaching teachers these days? A teacher who holds a senior position at a secondary school has been investigated by bosses following concerns about a snap he tweeted in 2020 that a parent found online. Now the other question is, why is a parent searching for tweets from a teacher from their school from 10 years ago? 13 years ago even. Makes no sense. But yeah, it's absolutely bonkers. Another story. Woman who fell asleep during eyelash appointment given a moustache by the technician. Destry pulled a prank on her client who fell asleep during a lash extension appointment and threw her into a fit of laughter when she saw the result after the nap. She gave her a little teenage boy's moustache. Not the puby one, the little stubbly one. Yeah, I remember those days. And then finally, I don't know if this is funny or not actually. No, this isn't funny. Russian villagers' deadly anthrax outbreak with fears it may spread through meat. A married couple from a Russian village who slaughtered their own bull are in hospital with severe conditions with confirmed anthrax poisoning as their village has been put into lockdown. Anthrax obviously very dangerous. Not figuring out how a cow, when they killed the bull, when they kill the bull, and then obviously you know take the guts out and all that kind of stuff, where the anthrax has actually come from in there, or whether they were enemies of Vladimir Putin, which is probably more realistic. Maybe they criticised him in a tweet or something. But either way, hopefully they do make a full recovery, and hopefully no one eats the. Actually, thinking about it, Vladimir Putin eats beef, doesn't he? Maybe they should donate the bull to Vladimir Putin so we can have some special burgers with a special secret ingredient. Anthrax. That'd be brilliant. These bloody explicit pictures. What happened to the gold days when it was good old bit of fun? No names, Mr. Darcy. Anyway, after 3.5 hours, Jesus, that is your lot, or shallot. Lots of news. Obviously the budget took quite a considerable length of time and we got sidetracked many times. What I love about this one is the amount of interaction I've had from people in the chat room. which is fantastic. The more people who join in, the more interesting it gets, rather than me just reading stuff out. So a big shout out to Angela O'Kane, Deno, Sean, I will give you a ring very shortly, Smiley Mac, JT, Marty Hopkirk, Daniel Giles, Billy Shears, anyone else? Anyone else? Anyone else? Rich T. Oh yeah, of course there is someone else. Foxstar 1387. Paul 1872. Yeah, started at 8 o'clock. We've done 3.5 hours, which is a record, I'll be honest. We've got 7 people watching at the minute. We've had 77 views. Average is 16.59. Record views was 9 at just gone 11 p.m. and also just before 10 p.m. and also at about 20 past 8. So yeah, that is it. What a week that was, and what a week it's been. I hope to be back in time for the trip. Yeah, it's probably going to be in the mid-afternoon, to be fair, because I want to get back early because I want to watch the Grand Prix. So yeah, it's going to be a day trip I do, but obviously you can watch it anyway when it goes up later on. So yeah, big shout out to everyone who's joined in the chat today. Really appreciate it. Got 5 likes as well, that's good. I missed Deno, did I? Oh, sorry Deno, I thought I got you. I thought I mentioned you early on. Apologies, Deno, you made me laugh a couple of times as well. Oh dear. Oh dear. Explicitly showing an ankle. So yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. We've covered American news, we've covered Indian news, we've covered Australian news, we've covered silly news, we've covered UK based news. So yeah, I think our work here is done. So thank you very, very much indeed for keeping me company, and all being well, I will speak to you soon. Look after yourselves, stay safe, and I will see you again. Until then, thank you for watching, and